Chapter 205. On the outskirts of Woodleaf, Sakura Haruno swung the smallest hammer, sweating profusely. Bang! 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 Next to her, Naruto set up a small outdoor workstation, using wood to design a new generation of combat prosthetic limbs. Tsunade strictly ordered him to rest for a week, and he planned to make the combat prosthetic limb in this week. The alloy selection of the combat prosthetic limb had to be redesigned. Light weight, high hardness, and toughness. The composition structure had to be simplified, because he had to make room for the loading mechanism. There was also the redesign of the runes under the new structure. These were all difficulties that he had to overcome. At the same time, in Naruto's office, the Umbu ninja chasing Sasuke sent a message. They found Orochimaru's whereabouts. Tsunade paced back and forth, as if she was making a difficult decision. Shizune and Dolphin looked at her worriedly. In the end, Tsunade finally made up her mind and looked at Shizune. Shizune's face was bitter, and she wanted to say something, but in the end, she closed her mouth. 3 days later, Naruto came to Naruto's office with the results of his research, a brand new prosthetic limb that hadn't been equipped with a mechanism yet. Tsunade-ne-san, take a look at my research results. Naruto handed the prosthetic limb to Tsunade. Tsunade picked up the prosthetic limb and studied it. Naruto pursed his lips and looked at her with a smile. He was waiting for praise. But Tsunade didn't praise him. Why didn't Tsunade-ne-san praise him? Was she in a bad mood? Naruto looked at the room and found that Dolphin was sunbathing, but Shizune wasn't there. He changed the topic and asked, "Where's Tsunade-ne-san? Don't tell me they went to slack off?" Tsunade replied with a straight face, "Shizune isn't feeling well, so she's resting at home." So that's it. Leaving Naruto's office with the prosthetic limb, Naruto felt that something was wrong. Today's Tsunade gave him a strange feeling. Then he turned back. Tsunade sat at the desk and asked kindly, "Is there anything else?" Naruto didn't answer, but squinted at Tsunade's face. Tsunade began to feel uncomfortable being stared at. She was about to speak, but Naruto asked first, "You're Shizune, right? Where's Sister Tsunade?" Tsunade widened her eyes, sighed, and deactivated the transformation technique. He said helplessly, "I knew I couldn't fool you." Naruto asked again, "Where is Sister Tsunade?" Shizune shook her head. "Tsunade told me not to tell you." Naruto thought of a possibility. His pupils shrunk as he exclaimed, "She couldn't have left the village by herself, right?" Mute didn't speak. Naruto continued, "Have you found Orochimaru's whereabouts?" Mute opened her mouth and finally rolled her eyes. She smiled bitterly in her heart. "Tsunade-sama, I didn't say anything. This guy guessed it himself." Naruto continued to ask, "How many days have you been gone?" "If you don't want to answer, I'll ask someone else. I think if I ask Mute how many days you haven't come to work, this kind of question will be easy to get the answer." What else could Mute say? She said helplessly, 3 days. Naruto turned and left. Mute shouted, "Where are you going?" Naruto replied without looking back, "Home, where else can I go?" Mute was relieved when she heard this. She was afraid that Naruto would also go to Sasuke. Naruto didn't make trouble, so it seemed that she was worried for nothing. Mute didn't continue to transform into Tsunade. If Naruto could see through her transformation technique, then others might as well, so it was better to directly use her own appearance. When someone asked Tsunade, she said she had something to do and went out. Anyway, this wasn't the first or second time. When Tsunade was training with Naruto, she was often absent, so it wasn't too eye-catching. Naruto left the Naruto building, and a 10-centimeter-long mouse appeared beside Naruto. Bang! With a sound, the beast clone technique was lifted, revealing the scroll stuffed in the mouse's stomach. The scroll unfolded, and it recorded the location where Orochimaru was found. Tsunade hasn't cured her hemophobia yet. Wouldn't it be a waste to find Orochimaru now? However, Tsunade should have Woodleaf's Umbu ninja by her side, and Kakashi Hatake, so there shouldn't be a big problem. On the contrary, Orochimaru and Sasuke should be the ones to worry. Orochimaru didn't reincarnate in Sasuke's body, and he should be at his weakest now. Maybe Tsunade can still catch Sasuke. Naruto walked and walked, passing by the Hyuga main family. Maybe his subconscious made him come here. Naruto still had one thing in his heart to confirm. Only when this matter is confirmed can he truly feel at ease. A swallow flew past, and Naruto raised his head and launched a spiritual attack on the swallow. The swallow seemed to be drunk and fell from the sky. It was caught by Naruto. Spiritual sharing was successfully established, and the swallow flew into the Hyuga main family under Naruto's control. He skillfully found Hinata's residence. Hinata wasn't there, and then he found the Hyuga clan's martial arts field. This time he found it. Only Hinata was practicing in the martial arts field. Naruto controlled the swallow to fly over. The swallow flew a few laps around Hinata, and then stopped on Hinata's shoulder. Hinata asked, "Naruto?" The swallow nodded. Then the swallow turned its head and indicated the direction, which was the direction of the door. Hinata understood and walked to the changing room to change out of her training clothes. At this time, the swallow was still standing on her shoulder. Hinata's face was slightly red, and she whispered, "I want to change clothes." The swallow tilted its head. After a while, it jumped on the ground and walked out of the changing room. Tesuke. It failed. Obviously, this wasn't the first time Naruto used this method to find Hinata. There was nothing he could do about it. After all, the guards wouldn't tell Hinata that he was here. What a pain in the ass. 5 minutes later, Hinata went out of the door and found Naruto under the guidance of the swallow. Naruto made a silent gesture, and then motioned Hinata to follow. The two left the Hyuga main family one after another. Naruto was so mysterious that Hinata also became serious. At this time, Naruto began to establish a spiritual link with Hinata and said, "Hinata, I want to establish a deep spiritual link with you and achieve visual sharing, so that I can borrow your Byakugan." Hinata nodded obediently and said, "Okay, what should I do?" With Hinata's cooperation, Naruto successfully established a deep spiritual link with Hinata after a minute. "Now open Byakugan and look at the Umbu." Hinata glanced at Naruto and didn't ask much, then opened Byakugan and looked at the Umbu. Using Byakugan to see through the Umbu is a taboo. Naruto was very touched by Hinata's cooperation. If this matter was not discovered, she would be taken to the interrogation room. Under Byakugan, the upper structure of the Umbu was clearly seen. On the lower level, there was a barrier blocking the line of sight. Naruto frowned. He was actually looking for Danzo. Recently, Naruto has been suspecting that Danzo and Orochimaru are connected. Then Naruto took out a map and pointed to a place and said, "Here." Hinata took a deep breath. As someone who has Byakugan, after she opened Byakugan, she was told that there are several places in the wood leaf that can't be seen at will. Just now, the Umbu was one, and the place Naruto was pointing to was another. That was Danzo's home. However, Hinata still did as she was told. In Byakugan vision, Danzo was not at home. Naruto nodded and cancelled the spiritual sharing. "Okay, you can go home." Naruto got up and was about to leave. Hinata pulled Naruto's clothes and asked, "Where are you going?" Naruto replied with a smile, "I'm going to do something." Hinata didn't let go. "Is it dangerous?" "If it's dangerous, take me with you." Naruto raised his hand and pinched Hinata's cheek. "What a silly girl, if it's dangerous, how can I take you with me?" He replied, "It's not dangerous." In the end, Hinata returned to the Taoist house under the comfort of Naruto. Naruto came to the Umbu. "I'm looking for Danzo-sama. Danzo-sama said that if I want to look for him, I can come at any time." Naruto said to the guard. The guard confirmed Naruto's identity. "Wait a minute, I will pass on your message." Soon, the guard received a reply. Naruto saw clearly that it was a system similar to a private network. This world hasn't entered the era of information globalization, but there are private networks. The guard replied, "Sorry, Danzo-sama isn't in the Umbu." If you want to look for Danzo-sama, I can register you. When Danzo-sama comes back, I will inform you. Naruto asked, then, can I ask where Danzo-sama can go? Can I take the initiative to look for him? The guard shook his head and said, sorry, I can't help you with this. I don't know the whereabouts of Danzo-sama. Naruto nodded and replied, well, it's not troublesome to register. I will come back later. Turning around and leaving the Umbu, Naruto's face darkened. If Danzo-sama isn't in Woodleaf, where would he go? Multiple shadow clone, beast clone, pigeon. 5,000 pigeons scattered. Naruto wanted to search the village to confirm whether Danzo-sama was still in Woodleaf. If she wasn't around, then his worries might come true. Even if Tsunade's people can deal with Orochimaru, what if Danzo-sama is added? Chapter 206. 5,000 doppelgangers flew all over the Woodleaf, but still couldn't find Danzo's whereabouts. There weren't many hidden places in the Woodleaf. The Umbu department was one of them, and the other was Naruto's building. Then there was the security department responsible for maintaining the Woodleaf's perception barrier. Thinking of the perception barrier security department, Naruto's mind couldn't help but be moved. His identity as a ceiling class member was still there, in theory. He could enter the perception barrier security department. He only needed a reason. Then Naruto entered the Woodleaf security department with the excuse of increasing his knowledge. What he saw was a huge floating water ball. The person in charge of receiving Naruto explained, this water ball is responsible for the Woodleaf's entry and exit records. Naruto knew about this thing. Every time he came back from a mission and passed by the outer gate, he'd use the password tactic. But at that time, it was usually done by the guards. Only the Umbu department ninjas had the password. And it wouldn't be recorded in a normal database. Naruto politely said, I'll just take a look, you do what you need to do. Then the person pointed out some areas he couldn't go to and let Naruto move freely. While no one was paying attention to him, Naruto opened his hand and pressed it on the table. The talisman formation drawn by Naruto's hand was activated. A black line went through the table and into the ground, then connected to the perception barrier system. A mental link to communicate with the perception barrier system. Naruto had only seen this technique once in the Forbidden Book, so this was the first time he was using it. He wanted to invade the perception barrier system. Of course he couldn't directly attack. If he didn't have the authority, he'd die a quick death. A black talisman line went through the cracks of the floor to the feet of a staff member, then climbed up his pants and went straight into his pocket, finally connecting to the ID card in his pocket, which was also a password. Naruto saw this card through the mental link. It was a supervisor-level authority card. Enough for now. In the distance, on a screen that no one was controlling, something strange began to operate on its own. Supervisor-level identity verified. Entered the Umbu department's database. He pulled out the entry and exit records of the dark unit for the past 3 days. Screening oily woman for roots, mountain wind, Danzo. Oily woman's root mountain windstorm screening is successful. Danzo's authority is insufficient. Command rejected. It seemed that Danzo had indeed left. Then, Naruto continued to work on the temporary entry and exit token. The process was successful. Naruto took advantage of the fact that no one was paying attention to him and took the password card from the password card extractor. Then, he left the security department. After Naruto left, someone who didn't know the identity of Naruto asked the person who was Naruto's tour guide, "Who is he?" The other person replied, "He's Tsunade's disciple, recently joined the ceiling class, a OP who managed to learn an advanced timer formation in 30 days. The person who asked the question widened his eyes. Really? However, which senior took on this difficult task? Advanced timing arrays aren't easy to teach. The person who was Naruto's tour guide replied, "Bullshit, he taught himself. Why else would I call him OP? Who knows, he might even become one of our leaders in no time." His words shocked everyone in the office. Since when was it possible to learn sealing by oneself? After leaving the sealing class, Naruto left the Woodleaf office. With the password card, Naruto's trip this time wouldn't be a problem unless someone purposely checked the database. However, apart from the security department, there were only a few people who had the authority to check the database at the Woodleaf office. The chances of being discovered were very low. Even if he was discovered, he still had Tsunade to help him. But just as Naruto was about to leave the Woodleaf office, Hinata suddenly appeared in front of Naruto. "Where are you going? Take me with you." Naruto was surprised for a moment before asking, "Just now, you were staring at me with supercilious eyes?" Hinata nodded. "Okay then." Naruto pinched Hinata's cheek and established a mental connection with her. "Don't mess around. I'm going on a trip to the Woodleaf office. You won't be able to follow me." Hinata raised her hand and took out a card. It was a mission card. It was a team mission card that Sasuke received when he was still here. Because he received it by mistake, and Chunin's exams had already started, he left it there. It was a mission to find a dog in the Fire Country. Naruto blinked in surprise. How could he have forgotten about this? If he knew, he wouldn't have needed a temporary access card. But in order to confirm Danzo's whereabouts, he definitely had to go to the security department. "Are you really going to follow me? What I'm going to do this time, if you don't handle it well, it'll be big trouble for you." Hinata still nodded. Sigh. If I knew, I wouldn't have asked her to supercilious eyes. "Hinata, I don't want you to go with me," Naruto said seriously. Hinata said firmly, "I want to go. I can help you. I won't be a burden, really. I've been cultivating hard recently." Hinata pouted, looking like she would cry if he didn't agree. Naruto didn't know what to do. He rubbed Hinata's head. In fact, Naruto was sometimes quite curious as to why Hinata was so nice to him. Naruto couldn't think of an accurate answer. Sigh. I can only say that I'm too outstanding. I can't help it. I'm so handsome that even if I'm bald, I'll still be a heartthrob. He entered shameless narcissism mode. Okay, but you have to be obedient. When I tell you to leave, you have to leave. Otherwise, I won't take you to do this kind of thing again. A smile appeared on Hinata's face and she nodded obediently. Naruto was speechless. The ignorant are truly fearless. If he could, he didn't want to go out, but this was related to Tsunade's safety. As her disciple, he couldn't just sit back and do nothing. What was he going to do this time? He might have to directly confront Danzo. After leaving Woodleaf, Naruto confirmed again, "Hinata, it's not too late for you to go back now." Upon hearing this, Hinata pouted again with tears in her eyes. Naruto gritted his teeth and decided to drag her out. The two established a mental link. Naruto said seriously, "My enemy might be Danzo. Do you still want to follow me?" Hinata replied, "I guessed as much." What else could Naruto say? "Silly girl, there's no cure for your stupidity." Hinata smiled happily. At the same time, at the store manager's house, Summer put down her work and went to find Haru. Naruto left Woodleaf. Haru looked up. It seems that he's going to chase after Danzo. How did Haru know about Danzo? Perhaps only they knew the answer. Just like that day when Hinata was standing outside the door, Summer knew that Hinata was coming without even looking outside. Summer said, "Let's go too. Milady asked us to protect him. It'll be bad if he dies." Haru said, "We don't have a choice." Then she turned to the corner of the corridor and asked, "Do you want to go?" Then, Gunny pushed his wheelchair out. "I didn't mean to eavesdrop. I just happened to pass by. But if that guy is in trouble, we'll naturally help. Count us in." Then he added, "But I want to go after dinner. Gunny is still growing, and he should be able to make it." Haru looked outside the window at the little girl who was feeding Fatty and Noppy. She sighed, "Can she really grow up?" Gunny turned his head and gave Haru a sweet smile. Chapter 207. In the Mental Link. Hinata, use your Byakugan to lock onto the eagle in the sky. Hinata's Byakugan locked onto a black da in the sky. This eagle might not even be seen with the naked eye as it was too far away. However, it was exceptionally clear with the Byakugan. She could even see the texture of each feather. Naruto activated monstrous strength mode and prepared an ice bullet. He raised his hand and aimed it at the eagle in the sky. Monstrous strength. Ice bullet fired. Dong! The ice bullet shot out. Naruto used his shared vision with Hinata to observe the trajectory of the ice bullet. The shot was off. And it was ridiculously off. After all, at such a long distance, even a slight difference in angle would be magnified hundreds or thousands of times. It still doesn't work. Looks like there's still a problem with our positioning. Hinata was shocked by the range of Naruto's ice bullet. The Byakugan's range of vision could reach up to 1 kilometer, but the ice bullet disappeared from the Byakugan's field of vision. How powerful was this? Hinata retracted her gaze and looked at Naruto. Unknowingly, Naruto had become stronger. Hinata couldn't help but say, "If I can give my eyes to Naruto-kun." Naruto rolled his eyes at Hinata. "Don't say such scary things. Come, let's change our positions. Come behind me and try." Hinata stood behind Naruto. Naruto commanded, "Use your X-ray vision. Lock on to the top of the tree in front of me." Hinata squatted slightly. Her Byakugan looked through Naruto's eyes and locked onto the target. Naruto raised his hand and prepared an ice bullet. He spun and accelerated, firing monstrous strength. Dong! The ice bullet in Naruto's hand accurately hit the top of the tree. The shooting range this time was 100 meters. Done. Try locking on to a further target. Hinata replied, "If I want to use your eyes, the range of vision will be reduced. I'm afraid. I can't see beyond 1 kilometer. That's a problem. Then, Hinata, come to the front." Hinata changed her position and walked in front of Naruto. Then, there was another problem. Naruto didn't have X-ray vision. How could he make sure that they were in a straight line? What a pain in the ass. If only the bullet had a tracking system. Tracking effect? This seemed possible. Naruto turned his doppelganger into the 4 wings of the spear when he used the second kick to rain bullets. Naruto's eyes lit up. Multiple shadow doppelganger. Mimicry doppelganger. Boom! A ring appeared in front of Naruto. Naruto condensed another ice bomb in his hand and put the ring on the outer layer of the ice bomb. "Hinata, try again. Lock on." The eagle flew far away. However, there were other birds in the sky. "Lock on to that sparrow." Hinata locked on to the sparrow. It was a sparrow flying between 2 branches about 600 meters away. First gear, ice bomb shot. Dong! The ice bomb flew out. Naruto maintained a mental link with his doppelganger. On the outer layer of the ice bomb, the ring had 4 wings that looked like the tail of a missile. The trajectory of the ice bomb shook. Locking on to the target failed. After all, the distance was too close. The speed of the ice bomb gave Naruto too little time to adjust. However, Naruto changed his target. He locked on to another sparrow. Hit. Hinata saw with her Byakugan's intuition that the ice bomb suddenly shot out in a large arc. Then, it went around the previous target and hit another sparrow a kilometer away. In an instant, the sparrow that was hit directly exploded into nothingness. The scene was a bit bloody. However, in this world where killing people was as simple as drinking water, this scene didn't have much of an impact on Hinata. The biggest impact was that Naruto's ice bomb could actually change its trajectory. Maybe it was just a coincidence? The ice bomb just lost control for a moment and coincidentally hit another sparrow? Naruto-kun, was that a coincidence? Naruto didn't have anything to hide from Hinata. He explained, "It wasn't a coincidence. I controlled it. You saw the 4 wings on the outer layer of the ice bomb, right? That was my doppelganger. I used the mental link to establish a visual connection and controlled it to adjust its direction by changing the airflow." Doppelganger could be used like this? Naruto was indeed a genius. This Naruto was so handsome. But then, wouldn't her Byakugan be useless? She originally thought that she could finally help Naruto. She said that she wasn't a burden anymore, but in fact, she was still a burden. Hinata suddenly felt a little disappointed. Naruto saw Hinata pouting and asked, "What's wrong? Why are you suddenly unhappy?" Hinata spoke her mind. "I originally thought that I could help Naruto-kun." Naruto was puzzled. "You really helped?" Hinata shook her head. "No way. Naruto-kun can establish a visual connection with his doppelganger. That way, he doesn't need my Byakugan." Naruto pinched Hinata's face. He realized that he liked pinching Hinata's face because it was very soft and felt good to the touch. "I really helped. Although I can establish a visual connection with the ice bomb, before that, I need to rely on your Byakugan to find the target. Without your Byakugan to find the approximate range, I can't lock onto the target 1 kilometer away." A smile appeared on Hinata's face. "Really?" Naruto replied with certainty. "Really? Okay, rest ends here. Let's continue on our way." Hinata nodded obediently. "Okay." Along the way, the two of them practiced ultra-long-range shooting when they rested. The success rate of shooting was constantly increasing. Hinata was very happy about this. She was glad that she was born with this pair of eyes. When they stopped to rest again, Naruto stuck the detonation talisman on the ice bomb, not to rain, but to increase its power. "Come on, Hinata, lock onto that stupid bird." In the Byakugan vision, Hinata locked onto a crow in the distance. The ice bomb accelerated its rotation and launched with a strange force. Boom! The ice bomb crossed a kilometer away in the blink of an eye. The 4 balance wings were stretched out, the angle was slightly adjusted, and it flew nearly a kilometer away again. The moment before the attack. Under the visual connection with his doppelganger, Naruto seized the opportunity. One hand seal, explode. Boom! The detonation talisman exploded, and the crow was directly blown to pieces. It's feasible. If he used the multiplication detonation talisman on this basis, then it would be even more awesome. Naruto came out with a lot of detonation talismans this time, and he almost moved all the assets of the ninja tool store. If Danzo can hit him, even if he doesn't die, he will be disabled. The two of them continued on their way. During the break, Naruto practiced the ice bomb less and less, and he began to draw on the scroll. Hinata asked curiously, "Naruto, what are you doing?" Naruto replied, "I'm seeing if I can develop a formation that is specially used to lock onto the target, and then combine it with the ice bomb. In this way, if I encounter a powerful enemy, even if I can't kill him with one blow, I can still leave a mark on his body. In that way, the next attack doesn't need to lock onto him, and the full output will definitely be enough to make him suffer." Hinata's eyes lit up as she listened, and looked at Naruto's drawing and said, "Naruto, you also know sealing technique?" Naruto nodded and replied while studying, "I know a little, I know a little." Hinata admired Naruto even more. Chapter 208. Deep in the forest, Kakashi, wearing a beige captain-level hooded windbreaker, led 4 Umbu ninjas wearing black windbreakers to meet up with Woodleaf's reinforcements. There were 5 ninjas who came as reinforcements, and all of them were wearing black trench coats. Kakashi's eyes swept over these people, and his eyes fell on a person who was obviously a woman. Woodleaf Umbu's windbreaker was still very loose, and there weren't many people in Woodleaf that this windbreaker couldn't cover. Especially among the Umbu ninjas. In addition, most of the Umbu ninjas wear tight chest wraps when they go out on missions. It's hard to tell whether they are male or female from their chest. Then this person. Kakashi looked at the person's mask. A cat face mask with purple lines. I've never seen it before. The person's footsteps moved. Clack. That was the sound of high heels. Umbu ninjas don't wear high heels when they go out on missions. Connecting all these, Kakashi had a guess in his heart. It can't be that person. Report the situation. The person opened his mouth. Under the mask, Kakashi's eyes drooped directly like a dead fish's eyes. It's really that person. Although Naruto will also go to the front line when there are frequent battles, Woodleaf needs Naruto more right now, right? Tsunade and Kakashi met up. Naruto and Hinata were still a long way from their destination. The destination was really too far, but Naruto wasn't in a hurry. According to the intelligence, Woodleaf ninjas and Orochimaru haven't fought yet. In this case, their combat power is still preserved. Then Tsunade won't be in danger after meeting up with these people. Of course, Danzo may also make a move before meeting up, in which case there's no way. After all, he came out 3 days late. If Danzo made a move before, it's too late to be anxious now. But according to Naruto's inference, Danzo won't make a move before Tsunade meets Orochimaru. Because then there's no one to take the blame for Tsunade's death, and it might be traced back to him. After all, after Tsunade left, he also left Woodleaf. But it's different after meeting Orochimaru. Not only can Danzo blame Orochimaru, but he can also explain that it was Tsunade who arranged for him to leave Woodleaf. This is a perfect case with no evidence. Come, Hinata, try again. Lock onto the one in the sky. Hinata's Byakugan locked onto the target. Under her Byakugan vision, the black down the sky was a strange bird with 2 heads. It should be close to 2 kilometers away. Hinata added more chakra to her Byakugan. Naruto was behind Hinata, his left hand holding Hinata's waist, his right hand raised high, and an ice bullet appeared in his hand. At the same time, the formation drawn on Naruto's palm was activated, and a dark rune drilled into the ice bullet, leaving a skull imprint. The Death Imprint. This is the name Naruto gave to this imprint. The imprint was successfully imprinted on the ice bullet, and the ice bullet began to spin faster. The first level of preparation was completed, and then a bracelet flew out from Naruto's wrist and wrapped around the ice bullet's outer membrane. This was Naruto's clone turned into a pair of balance wings. The second level of preparation was completed. Monster Force, Monster Force, Monster Force, launch. Asterisk boom. Asterisk the ice bullet disappeared. It was shot in a straight trajectory towards the strange bird, but there was a deviation. The bracelet wrapped around the membrane extended into 4 balance wings. The angle was adjusted slightly, and the straight trajectory became a large curve. After several circles, the angle was adjusted and it hit the strange bird's wing. The strange bird's wing was pierced. The strange bird was in pain, and its body fell a few meters, but it flew up again. Its roar was shrill, and its eyes were bloodshot. It seemed like it wanted to find out who attacked it. But it didn't see it. At the same time, at the wound on the wing, a black rune twisted and turned into a black skull. But it was different from the skull on the ice bullet. This skull had 2 more crossed bones below. Next, it's time to witness a miracle. Naruto condensed another ice bullet in his hand, and the ice bullet sped up. The ring of the clone was wrapped around the bubble. The rune on his palm was activated, and a rune was imprinted on the ring. This time, it was a blood-colored skull. Naruto named it the Death Imprint. Monster Force, Monster Force, Monster Force. Launch. Asterisk boom. Asterisk the ice bullet disappeared in the blink of an eye. But this time, Naruto didn't establish a spiritual link with the clone. In other words, the ice bullet would be used to navigate and chase after the target. The ice bullet shot out in a straight line, drawing an arc. Then it focused on the target again. Success. Naruto was very excited, but Hinata was even more excited than Naruto. She turned around and hugged Naruto. Then, when Hinata came back to her senses, her body froze. What was she doing? She actually hugged Naruto on her own accord. Shameful. How shameful. Hinata was so shy that she didn't know what to do. At this time, Naruto was also stunned. Then, he hugged Hinata back. Hinata's stiff body finally softened due to embarrassment. She took a deep breath and began to enjoy the hug. Although Naruto had boldly kissed her before, this was the first time they hugged. This feeling. It was so good. She wanted time to stop at this moment. After a while, Hinata, I suddenly remembered that I have a piece of equipment that I haven't used yet. Do you want to try it? Hinata was stunned and asked carefully, What is it? Naruto smiled and said, "Hinata, do you want to fly?" Hinata didn't understand. Or perhaps she didn't dare to think that way. Could it be that he was going to do something embarrassing? Wouldn't that be too fast? Although it wouldn't be a problem if it was Naruto, but Hinata's face became redder and redder in her imagination. Naruto let go of her and then flipped over her body. Hinata's hands were trembling. What was Naruto looking for? Could it be, after she activated her supercilious eyes, she would often see such scenes unintentionally? After all, supercilious eyes had the effect of seeing through things. No secrets could be hidden from the walls of the house. At first, she didn't understand. She asked her mother, and later, her mother told her not to use supercilious eyes at night. However, even if she didn't use it at night, she could sometimes see it during the day. Could Naruto be taking? Hinata felt her legs go soft. She couldn't stand steadily. At this time, Naruto finally took out a scroll. It was a storage scroll. Hinata didn't dare to breathe loudly. Her heart beat faster. Naruto opened the storage scroll and then took out a set of black armor. But she was even more embarrassed. Since she thought that way just now, she was really shameless. Hinata looked at the armor again and felt that it was a little familiar. There was a yin-yang fish device on the chest. Was it the chakra armor that she wore in the wind flower raging waves? Hinata finally remembered where she saw it before. It was the Snow Country mission. She quietly asked, "Naruto-kun, why do you have this kind of armor?" Naruto smiled and said, "Before leaving, I took care of Princess Little Snow. Wait a moment, I'll go put on this armor." With that, Naruto took the armor and walked into the dense forest. Princess Little Snow? Hinata remembered the signed photo of the windflower Little Snow kissing Naruto. She was a little jealous, but her face was still red. Her Byakugan was still on, and she was still connected to Naruto mentally. "In the forest," Naruto replied. "Hinata, although I don't mind you looking at me changing clothes, can you turn off your Byakugan, or look somewhere else?" Hinata's originally red face became even redder. She shyly hugged her head and squatted on the ground. Because Byakugan was still on, Naruto had a nosebleed. Although Byakugan could see the meridians and contours, he still couldn't help but have a nosebleed. Naruto licked the blood on his lips. His heart was very restless. He really wanted to enter the beast mode, but Hinata was still young. Inhale, exhale. After changing into the chakra armor made by the Snow Country, Naruto injected chakra into the device on his chest, and then stretched out the wings on his back. He swayed a little, and it didn't feel that difficult to control. After all, Naruto's clone had the experience of turning into a pigeon, and he had been thrown away by Tsunade many times. After gliding in the sky, Naruto landed beside Hinata. "Let's go, I'll take you flying." Chapter 209. Naruto activated the chakra armor and flew. He was carrying Hinata in his arms like a princess. Originally, he was carrying her from behind, just like Jack and Ruth on the Titanic. However, after flying for a long time, Hinata inevitably felt uncomfortable, so he changed to the current position. Hinata wrapped her arms around Naruto's neck and leaned her face on Naruto's chest. Her red face was very beautiful. "Hinata, look at the map. Why do I feel like we're flying in the wrong place?" Hinata returned from the beautiful country in her heart to the beautiful country in reality. She took out the map and looked at it while lying in Naruto's arms. Then, she looked down at the terrain below with Byakugan. Nearby, nothing. She looked to the side. Still nothing. After all, the terrain below was only trees. Let's find a place where people live and fly forward. Chakra's wind attribute poured into the pair of wings behind her back, and her speed increased rapidly. 5 minutes later, the two landed on a tree outside the town. Originally, they planned to use Byakugan to find the landmark name and confirm the location and leave, but Hinata's stomach rumbled. Hinata pursed her lips in embarrassment and was about to stuff a soldier food pill into her mouth, but Naruto stopped her. "No hurry, let's go eat first. By the way, ask where we are." "I don't know where we are." What should they eat? A specialty ramen restaurant? When it came to girls, they should let the girls choose first. Hinata chose the specialty ramen. At the same time, there were 5 other girls outside the town. 2 pairs of twins and a little loli. Haru Sakuratani looked at the map, then glanced around and asked Summer with uncertainty, "Is it here?" Summer said with certainty, "It's here." Haru Sakuratani frowned and looked at the map again. If Naruto saw this map, he would be shocked to see Orochimaru's location marked on it. Haru Sakuratani pointed at the target location, then her finger drew a long distance on the map and pressed on a place called Shanqing Town. She blinked and said, "This is too far away, isn't it? Did they hold the map upside down?" Summer laughed and said, "Even if they hold the map upside down, they can't get here." Surprisingly, Guni was not sitting in the wheelchair. He sniffed and sighed, "I'm hungry again, should I eat something first?" Little Guni's stomach growled as he rode on Big Guni's shoulder. Gu and I grinned. "Look, someone agreed with my suggestion." Summer suddenly said, "They're coming out." They're gone again." A black shadow rose into the sky, flapped its wings, and flew away in another direction. Spring looked at the direction where Naruto disappeared, then looked at the map again, and her frown deepened. "They didn't come out to chase after Danzo this time, right? Maybe we misunderstood. They should be out for a private meeting." The others looked at the map and couldn't help but sigh. "How bad do you have to be able to walk like this?" Little Guni looked at the black dot disappearing in the sky and pouted. "Aren't you going to tell Naruto-san?" Guni smiled. "They're just a couple who came out for a private meeting, don't be a third wheel." Let's go have a meal first, then we'll chase after them." Guni took the lead and walked into the town. Guni and the other 2 went into the restaurant to eat, while Spring and Summer looked at the butterflies flying in the courtyard in a daze. In the sky, Naruto kept infusing the wind element chakra into the wings behind him. The previous one was Iron Fur Town, so we're going in this direction, right? Hinata found Iron Fur Town, then looked at the marked destination and nodded obediently. "Yes. That's right." After flying in a straight line for 4 hours, the 2 stopped at the top of a mountain to rest. After that, they practiced long-distance shooting. After shooting a dozen ice bombs, the 2 rested for 10 minutes, then continued on their way. "I remember it's this way, right?" Hinata looked at the map and nodded obediently. "Yes, yes." Then Naruto picked up Hinata, flapped his wings, and flew into the sky. But, in fact, the direction Naruto flew away from was not on the same line as the straight line he came from. But it was the right direction. It was amazing. But what kind of weird path will the 2 of them take next? Who knows if they'll be able to collect Tsunade's body in time? Naruto was in front, and the girls followed behind him. Compared to Naruto's big arc, their path was much straighter. Summer pointed in a direction, and Haru looked at the map, this direction. They took a big circle, and then they're heading towards their destination. Gurney pursed his lips. So, they're really here to chase after Danzo, but they don't know how to read the map. They were speechless. Little Gurney suggested again, "Why don't we chase after them? It'll be bad if we go the wrong way again." Gurney looked at Haru and Summer, and Haru put away the map and said, "Let's see. If they go the wrong way again, we'll chase after them." The book said that in a 2-person world, the most annoying thing is for someone to be a third wheel, not to mention there are 5 of us. At night, Naruto carried Hinata and flew under the stars for 2 hours, then chose a big tree to spend the night. Their equipment for the night was 2 hanging sleeping bags, 1 black and 1 yellow, 1 black and 1 yellow, and they looked like a bee's butt. They were the same ones that Naruto used in Chunin's exam. The 2 bee-butt sleeping bags were hung on the tree branches next to each other. Under Naruto's guidance, Hinata went into the sleeping bag. "How do you feel? This sleeping bag is very comfortable." Hinata replied, "Not bad, but there seems to be a lot of things inside." Naruto lay in his sleeping bag, looked at the empty bags on the left, and said, "On your left, there's a row of scaly bookshelves. There are jokes, stories of local customs, folk songs, and so on. Then, he looked at the 2 strings on the right. If you want to see, there's a red drawstring on the right. Pull it, and a small table lamp will light up. The blue one on the side is a small fan. If you feel hot, you can turn it on. Then, he looked at the 2 empty bags at the bottom of his feet and said, Then, there are 2 big hanging bags at your feet. They're filled with snacks. If you're hungry, you can eat them. When you eat, there's an empty convenience bag inside. You can collect the residue. Then, above your head, there's a red bag and a basket. The red one is mouthwash and gum, and the blue one is a towel. Naruto touched the bag above his head. It was empty too. Okay, sleep, Naruto said to Nine Tails. Teacher Nine Tails, I'll leave the safety issue to you. Nine Tails said without looking up. 10. Naruto stretched, then lay on his side and said, 1. Nine Tails. 5. Naruto. 2. Hinata looked at the jokes on the bag for a while and giggled a few times. Then, she put the book back into the bag. She pulled the red string, and the light went out. Good night, Naruto-kun. Good night. Under the moonlight, the 2 bee-butted sleeping bags twisted and turned. Then, they fell silent. Not far from them, the 5 girls looked at the 2 sleeping bags, speechless. Gunny said with certainty, Actually, they're here for a vacation. Little Gunny rode on Big Gunny's shoulder and complained, I also want to go on vacation with Big Brother Naruto. Gunny suddenly thought of something. How are we going to spend the night? Spring pointed in a direction. There's a small town 50 kilometers away. Let's go there. Chapter 210. What's the next upgrade for the ice bullet? Naruto hasn't figured it out yet. Now the ice bullet's trajectory stability, attack power, penetration, shooting range, and tracking lock were already extremely good. The only shortcoming was the preparation time. Naruto has already done all the optimizations he could do. For example, the rune base was set on his right hand, and when it was triggered, he would leave a curse seal on the ice bullet by burying the rune seed. There was also the mimicry doppelganger, which was set on his right hand in advance, so that before the ice bullet was fired, the ring and the curse seal would be set on the ice bullet's thin film. More optimizations. Hinata, where do you think I still need to optimize this move? Early in the morning, 2 busy bees woke up from their respective hives, washed up, fed each other a soldier food pill, and set off. Very good. This time they didn't go in the wrong direction. Hinata's hands were around Naruto's neck, her body lying in Naruto's arms. Her face was pressed on Naruto's chest, quietly listening to Naruto's heartbeat. At the same time, she replied through spiritual sharing, It's already very good. Hinata can't think of anything else that can be optimized. Naruto grinned for a moment, and he had to shut up immediately. He replied through spiritual sharing, There are definitely still some shortcomings. For example, the preparation time is still very long. Hinata recalled and sighed, It's not long, right? Yesterday, the fastest time for an ice bullet from preparation to firing was only 3 seconds. 3 seconds, in Hinata's opinion, was already very fast, much faster than many ninjutsu casting. Naruto replied, Long, with my monstrous strength, if I use all my strength, I can fire 10 shots in a second. If the power of each shot is reduced by half, I can even fire more than 30 shots in a second. Hinata was secretly speechless. This speed. It's almost as fast as her gentle fist. So Naruto's taijutsu is also very strong. Naruto, on the other hand, continued to think about how to improve it. If it was just an ordinary sniper rifle, what would it lack? Currently, Hinata was the one acting as the scope. He was the gun itself. Oh right. Magazine. F***ck. Why didn't he think of such an important and simple thing? Since he didn't have much time to prepare, he might as well prepare it first. He was as stupid as a dolphin. Thinking of this, Naruto looked around and chose a mountain to land on. Hinata, I have something fun to experiment with. Multiple shadow doppelganger. Doppelganger bullet. Bang bang bang. Pang. Pang. 50 rings continuously wrapped around Naruto's hand. It was a very small ring with many layers of secrets. Then, Naruto raised his right hand and an ice bullet appeared in his hand. The array on his palm was activated and black runes extended into the ice bullet, leaving a black skull imprint on the ice bullet. At the same time, the bracelet on his wrist flew out and attached itself to the Yang element film. An ice bomb was created. Then, under Naruto's control, it floated behind him. The second one. All the way until 50. When Naruto was done, ice bullets floated around him. 50 feels like I can control it. Then he called out to Hinata, "Come on, let's shoot continuously this time." Hinata's mouth was half open and she was a little tongue-tied. She opened her Byakugan and took a deep breath. She asked through the mental link, "Who are you targeting?" Naruto used Hinata's Byakugan to find a target. He pointed at one of the mountains and said, "That stone mountain will do." At a distance of 2 kilometers, the target was big enough and could be seen clearly. Byakugan locked onto the stone mountain. Naruto raised his palm and aimed at the stone mountain. An ice bullet flew over under Naruto's control. Monster Force was ready. Fire. Dong. The ice bullet flew over the stone mountain in Byakugan's vision. It was slightly off target and was corrected by the balance wing. In Byakugan's vision, the ice bullet spiraled in the sky and locked onto the stone mountain. Pang! Hit! A black skull with crossed bones was imprinted in the deep pit of the mountain. Naruto didn't stop there. 49 ice bullets with red skull imprints on the balance wing ring were shot out one after another. He shot out 2 to 3 shots in a second. The ice bullets formed a long dragon with a magnificent aura. The sparrows that passed by were frightened and scattered in all directions. There were also some that ran into the trajectory of the bullets and were then pierced by the ice bullets. In Byakugan's vision, Naruto was very satisfied with this attack. That stone mountain, under the ravage of 50 ice bullets, was actually shot into a deep pit with a diameter of 3 meters. It was a deep pit that penetrated the mountain. This was still under the condition that he didn't use the explosive charms. If Shao Nan's assets were given to him, it would be the 600 billion explosive charms. Naruto felt that he could easily wipe out a country now. 600 billion explosive charms with the mutual explosive charms. Just thinking about that kind of scene made him excited. That was a big scene. Then, conquer the world. Ridiculous. Hinata, look at the map. Isn't the destination not far? Hinata took out the map and estimated the distance with her fingers. Well, it's not far. If we fly at full speed in 2 hours, we will almost arrive. Naruto was stunned. So close. Then we can't fly for the rest of the road, be careful, and then find a mountain to occupy a commanding position, wait for the battle to break out, or look for Danzo's trace. At the same time, the 4 Umbu of Wood Leaf continued to search for the exact location of Orochimaru. Tsunade sat alone in the tent, staring at the bright red color on the handkerchief. It was blood. Tsunade's pupils contracted under the mask, her breathing became more and more rapid, and her body began to tremble. An inexplicable sense of fear wrapped around her body, and at this moment, her body became stiff and uncontrollable. Her breathing gradually changed from small breaths to big breaths. "Tsunade-sama, are you okay?" Outside the tent, the Umbu in charge of security couldn't help but ask. It's really suspicious because of the movement in the tent. Tsunade closed her eyes and couldn't see the blood, and her breathing calmed down a little. At the same time, she put away the handkerchief. She replied, "I'm fine, don't worry about me." The Umbu respectfully replied, "Yes. Sigh. If I knew, I would have asked that kid to help me with this exposure therapy. It's really difficult to overcome it by myself." Thinking about how Naruto overcame his fear of heights in 5 days, it took her much longer, but it was also useless. As a master, she couldn't even compare to her apprentice. Tsunade felt a little helpless. "That little guy. I don't know if he knows that I'm not in the village, but it's useless. Wood Leaf people won't let him out without permission." At this time, outside the tent, Kakashi came back and respectfully said, "Tsunade-sama, the entrance to the underground palace has been confirmed. Should we sneak in now?" Tsunade opened her eyes, took a deep breath, and the complex emotions on her face gradually became firm. Sneak in. Chapter 211. So this is Orochimaru's underground palace. Tesuke. It's good to have a good pair of eyes. Naruto and Hinata quietly approached the underground palace. They took a look around and left. Danzo had not entered the arena yet, so Naruto was not in a hurry. However, he left something behind. Naruto's mimic beast avatar, a fist-sized black pocket cat, slipped in through the entrance. It was furry like a coal ball. Naruto wanted to see if he could find Sasuke and have a chat with him. Dust Ball stopped when it reached the second floor. There was a perception barrier. Dust Ball stuffed its paw into its mouth. When it came out again, it had already dipped its paw in special ink. Then, it began to draw on the ground. After it finished drawing, it pressed its paw on the spell formation. The spell formation was activated. A black rune line extended forward and climbed up an invisible wall. The perception barrier was not very strong. It should be a simplified version of the spell formation that was set up with a scroll as the base. It could be invaded. Then, Dust Ball continued to operate the spell formation. Soon, its body was covered with runes. As it was black, it could not be seen. The rune lines that were stuck in the air changed accordingly. Extraction of the perception barrier caster, chakra. Extraction successful. The runes retracted and the runes on Dust Ball's body changed. Then, the cat's body twisted and elongated. Finally, it turned into a furry snake. The black fur retracted and changed into scales. Finally, it turned into a small white snake. While walking in a Z shape, the little white snake passed through the perception barrier and walked in. Hinata could also see the scene in front of her through spiritual sharing. She felt that it was very magical. Naruto would explain from time to time. Why are you interested in learning sealing techniques? I can teach you. Hinata was not very sure. How can I learn it when I'm so stupid? My medical ninjutsu is the worst. I can only use the immortal palm technique now, Naruto praised. It's already very good to be able to learn the immortal palm technique. Look at Tion, he hasn't learned it yet. Was he insulting Tion? No. Naruto indicated that he was telling the truth. Hinata pouted and replied, but compared to Naruto, I can't compare at all. Sakura is much better than me. Him and Sakura? Naruto knew that if his chakra did not devour the 9 tails of Yang attribute, he would not be able to learn it so quickly. Of course, of chakras, his chakras was different from others. His was red and it had a slight tinge of gold. That was of the 9 of it. Of course. That was the color of 9. Sakura of medical ninjutsu. Of course of Ling of her. Therefore, Hinata was not weak at all. Then do you want to learn? Of people like of S of the, for example. Of someone like him. For some people like Hinata, the more they were praised, the more stress they would feel. Hinata immediately nodded, yes. Naruto would teach her personally. Even if she couldn't learn it, at least she had a reason to be with Naruto. As long as she could be with him, nothing else mattered. Hinata thought so. Then she added without much confidence, but I'm very stupid. If I can't learn it. Naruto pinched Hinata's little face and communicated with her through spiritual link, don't worry, I won't abandon you. At this time, the white snake found the entrance to the 3rd floor. To be honest, this underground palace was really big. It was unknown whether Orochimaru had a digging expert by his side or if it was an ancient relic, but Orochimaru found it. The white snake's body twisted and stretched out a cat paw. It was pressed to the ground. A talisman line stretched out and finally found an explosive talisman. Was this a trap? Nope. The explosive talisman looked a little old. It was a structure from more than 10 years ago and was not bound. The white snake opened its mouth and then stretched out a hand from its mouth, took off the explosive talisman, rolled it up, and put it into its mouth. Not bad, I got an explosive talisman. Naruto sighed and then continued to go deeper. The talisman on the white snake's body would give off warnings from time to time, and then the explosive talismans were put away one by one. However, the white snake's stomach did not swell. This was because Naruto had set up a storage array in his clone. It was not very strong, but it could more or less hold some things. Hinata, look around with your supercilious eyes. We don't know where Danzo is yet. Hinata nodded and said, okay. At this time, Hinata and Naruto were sitting in the trunk of a big tree on a mountain. The middle part of the trunk was hollowed out. It was square like a small house, and then the book cover was pressed in place. It was a very natural disguise. By the way, we have to pay more attention to the mountain we're on. Be careful that we don't know when Danzo is next to us. Hinata looked away and checked the mountain they were on first. Naruto controlled the white snake while explaining to Hinata, let me explain Danzo's strength to you. Although you can't deal with it with your strength, you won't panic too much if you understand the enemy's ability. First of all, Danzo should be good at wind attribute changes. He attacks by spitting out a vacuum bomb from his mouth. I don't know what a vacuum bomb is like. Let's think of it as a stronger wind blade. Secondly, Danzo has a spiritual beast called the Nightmare Taper. It's very big and is good at wind escape. I'm not sure about its specific ability. It can suck the enemy into its mouth by sucking the wind. But it's okay if it doesn't suck air. If it does, you can mix the detonation tag with the debris and blow up its head. This is the basic information about Danzo. What's more difficult is his Sharingan. Hinata listened carefully and was surprised when she heard about the Sharingan. She couldn't help but confirm, Sharingan? Naruto smiled and replied through spiritual link, you didn't expect it, did you? And there's more than one. You know that Danzo's right eye is wrapped in gauze, right? Hinata nodded, I know, but there's a barrier on the gauze, and Byakugan can't see what's inside. Naruto replied, that barrier should be guarding against your Hyuga clan. The Sharingan in Danzo's right eye has the ability to enter the Mangekyo state. The so-called Mangekyo is a stronger dojutsu above the 3 Tomo. Its effect is to change people's thinking, so you must be careful of that eye. This news is really amazing, but it's from Naruto's mouth. Hinata chose to believe Naruto. She nodded obediently. Naruto explained again, there's something more powerful. There's also a barrier on Danzo's right hand, right? Hinata recalled and nodded. Naruto, that arm is Danzo's biggest trump card. It's transplanted with 10 Sharingan. Hinata turned to look at Naruto in shock. Naruto, those were dug out from the remains of the Uchiha clan. Forget it, I won't tell you about this first. The most important thing is the significance of the existence of 10 Sharingan. It's for a technique called Izanagi. It's a super powerful dojutsu that can transform reality and dream. 1 eye can last for 60 seconds, and 10 eyes can last for 10 minutes. In these 10 minutes, Danzo won't die. Hinata was shocked and couldn't help but ask, is what you said true? Naruto replied through spiritual link, I'm not teasing you, I'm telling you very seriously that it's true. You know how powerful Danzo is, do you still want to fight him with me? Chapter 212. Hinata came back to her senses and replied through spiritual link, Naruto-kun's choice is my choice. According to Naruto-kun, Danzo is a big villain. Is he related to the extermination of the Uchiha clan? Naruto smiled, whether he is a villain or not has nothing to do with me, but this time he wants to kill Tsunade. Tsunade is my benefactor, so I have to kill him. Also, if he succeeds, after he becomes Naruto, his next target will be me, so he must die. By the way, in order to balance the powerful spiritual power of the Sharingan in his body, Danzo's body is integrated with first Naruto's cells, so he can also use Mokuton, so you need to be careful. Hinata nodded. Naruto wondered, after listening to Danzo's strength, don't you think it's ridiculous for me to want to kill Danzo? Hinata said seriously, because Naruto-kun is also very strong. Naruto was a little confused. Am I so high in Hinata's heart? The reason why he dared to fight Danzo was mainly because Nine-Tails also wanted to fight Danzo, otherwise, with his current strength, he always felt that he was not enough. 10 minutes of invincibility. There are also Koto Amatsukami, who can easily die. But it feels good to be trusted by Hinata. Continue to look for Danzo's whereabouts, and then I will tell you the strength of the 2 men he brought with him. Hinata's gaze shifted to the outside. Naruto looked at Hinata, who did not show any panic, and was secretly surprised. Who said that Hinata has a soft personality? Such shocking news, but she can still be calm. How big of a heart does she have? Danzo might have brought 2 of his men with him this time. 2 Umbu ninjas, Aburame Taikujin and Yamamoto Kaze. Oily Woman's root extraction specializes in nano-level poisonous insects. It's very troublesome. More accurately, it's impossible to even touch it. Even the air around it is dangerous, so I've decided to kill it with an ice bomb first. As for the other Yamanaka, I don't have much to say. The Yamanaka clan is good at mind rotation jutsu. It's a very useful ability, but it's a lot less effective when fighting without a partner. If he can stop Aburame from taking the root, he can ignore him and attack Danzo directly. Or, if possible, he can kill Aburame as well. After Naruto finished, Hinata asked, "Aren't we going to attack Danzo directly?" Naruto shook his head. "I don't think it's that easy to kill Danzo, so it's better to stop the abuser from getting her root." Hinata nodded as if she understood. Then, her body stiffened, and her expression suddenly became serious. Danzo has been spotted. With just one sentence, the atmosphere froze. Naruto took a deep breath. Establish visual sharing. Then, Naruto saw Danzo and the 2 people beside him. Just as Naruto predicted, it was Aburame Woman and Yamanaka. Hinata asked seriously, "Have you locked onto the target now?" Naruto licked his lips. "No, let's wait for them to fight Woodleaf's Umbu." There was only one chance, so they had to seize it. Stopping Danzo now was a 2v3 with Danzo. It was not advisable. Naruto saw Danzo, and Nine-Tails also saw Danzo. His eyes opened, and his gaze was cold and fierce. Naruto saw Nine-Tails like this when he met Danzo last time. He comforted him. "Don't spread chakra, if your position is exposed, it's over." Nine-Tails narrowed his eyes and replied, "So what if I find him, I'll kill him." What a domineering answer. Naruto rolled his eyes and said, "Whether it's Sharingan or Mokutan, they both restrain you. How do you want to kill him? It's still possible to seize the opportunity to kill Danzo, otherwise, we'll all get lunch." Some sounds of metal collision and screams began to sound in the underground palace. Naruto guessed that Woodleaf's Umbu should be fighting with Orochimaru. Go and take a look. Maybe it'll be easier to find Sasuke if he follows them. However, since Woodleaf's Umbu is traveling together, there must be a lot of perception-type ninjas. If he goes, there's a high possibility that he will be killed as a target. Naruto was hesitating, when a small black snake found the white snake controlled by Naruto and swam over. Hiss, hiss. The little black snake spat out its tongue and swayed its head, looking at Naruto's white snake with some doubts. Got it. He can control snakes, and with the snake's thermal system, it'll be much easier to find Sasuke. Naruto's white snake stretched out a cat paw and pressed it on the ground. The little black snake looked at the furry paw in confusion. At this time, a black talisman shot towards the little black snake. Binding seal. The talisman shot towards the little black snake's body, and the seal climbed along the snake's body. The little black snake's body stiffened. Spiritual shock. Establish a spiritual link. Success. Naruto's white snake clone stretched out 2 claws and pressed them together. Mimic body clone. Bang! Naruto's clone turned into a black collar. The little black snake lowered its head into the collar, and the collar shrank and was worn on the little black snake's body. In the spiritual link, Naruto successfully took over the little black snake's infrared thermal vision. Sure enough, with thermal vision, it's much easier to find people. At this time, the sound of fighting in the underground palace became unscrupulous, and there were even roars. Naruto controlled the little black snake to quietly approach, and at the same time, on the black collar of the clone, he also squeezed 2 eyes to observe secretly. It's the 4 ninjas of Otogekure who can enter the curse seal state. These 4 people are here, so Sasuke shouldn't be far away. I don't know if Sasuke has been cursed, and if he has been cursed, can he enter the second state of curse seal? Orochimaru's heavenly curse seal can grow a pair of fleshy wings like a big hand when it enters the second state. Naruto was very interested in Orochimaru's curse seal. Naruto felt that the curse seal may have something to do with the seal technique. The eyes on the little snake's collar glanced at the corridor and retracted its head. Naruto controlled the little snake to change direction. At the same time, Tsunade gestured to the 2 Umbu ninjas beside her to sneak in separately. The 2 Umbu ninjas didn't hesitate. Umbu ninjas only obey orders, and they don't even think about whether the orders are right or wrong. After the 2 Umbu ninjas left, Tsunade continued to go deeper along the corridor in front of her. After a few steps, a gloomy voice sounded, "We meet again, but you shouldn't have come this time." The corridor moved, and the road behind Tsunade was blocked by a stone wall. Tsunade looked at the wall behind her and sneered, "Do you think you can stop me with a wall?" Orochimaru smiled gloomily, and at the same time, he walked out of the shadow. "That's just to make it convenient for 2 old classmates to talk alone. You really shouldn't have come." Tsunade replied, "You shouldn't have taken away the ashes of Hayashi Nobunaga." Orochimaru glanced at Tsunade with surprise and hesitated. "Ashes? You also learned that jutsu?" Then, he laughed heartily. He laughed and replied, "So you think Naruto just wants to learn that forbidden technique? Interesting." Then there was another burst of laughter. When he finally stopped laughing, Orochimaru asked playfully, "Are you interested in the jutsu of immortality?" "If I'm interested, I want to cooperate with you more than that person." Chapter 213. Tsunade found Orochimaru, and Naruto found Sasuke. Sasuke didn't participate in the battle with the Woodleaf Ninja, but sat alone in the empty stone house. His head was facing the ground, and his face was full of pain. In Naruto's words, it was a constipated expression. Naruto controlled the little black snake to climb in through the door and window formed by the iron railings on the door. When the little black snake climbed into the house, Sasuke felt it and looked over, his brows wrinkled, and the constipated expression became more vivid. At this time, a mouth cracked open under the eyes on the little black snake's neck collar and teased, "Long time no see, Sasuke-san." At this time, Naruto's voice, Sasuke's expression froze, and he couldn't believe it. "Naruto." 2 claws stretched out from the collar and made a hand seal. Boom! Naruto's clone changed from the collar back to Naruto's appearance. He grinned and said, "Are you surprised? Are you surprised?" Sasuke frowned. "Are you also involved in the Woodleaf's pursuit this time?" Naruto waved his hand. "That has nothing to do with me. I secretly followed and crossed thousands of mountains and rivers just to see you. How is it? Are you touched?" To be honest, when Naruto suddenly appeared in front of him, Sasuke's heart was a bit complicated. Some were happy to meet an old friend in a foreign land, but more than that, he wanted to beat the other party to death. Sasuke felt his right hand hurt again. His hand was broken by that guy 12 times. That kind of pain was really deep in the bone. Sasuke resisted the urge to beat the guy in front of him to death and asked, "Secretly followed? How did you leave the Woodleaf? Did you also defect?" Naruto rolled his eyes, and then proudly said, "After you left, I went to the sealing class to study. Now the Woodleaf's defense system is useless to me." Went to the sealing class to study? To what extent can you make the Woodleaf's defense system useless? Sasuke felt that Naruto was talking nonsense with him, and asked, "Did you use the wrong mission last time to come out?" This time, it was Naruto's turn to be speechless. If Hinata can think of that mission, Sasuke can also think of it. It seems that he forgot about this. I'm not. Hinata, I brought her out. I brought Hinata. Are you interested in talking with Hinata? Naruto's pseudo-spiritual link established a link with Sasuke. You don't have to be too wary of me, right? I'll take you to see Hinata. You didn't say anything when you left. Sakura Haruno is worried to death. Sasuke didn't cooperate with Naruto, and instead asked, You also brought Sakura Haruno out? Naruto replied, No, it's just me and Hinata, don't worry, we're not here to persuade you to go back to the village, hurry up, don't dawdle like Shizen. Sasuke was secretly relieved when he heard that Sakura Haruno didn't come. That love-struck girl has always been a headache for him. Then, he finally cooperated with Naruto to establish a deep spiritual link. Then, the scene in front of him changed, and his consciousness came to a dark space. Genjutsu? Just as Sasuke was about to open his Sharingan, Naruto appeared beside him. Don't be so nervous, silly. Then Hinata also appeared in the dark space. But this dark space is indeed a bit depressing. With that, the surrounding scenery changed, and it changed into the shop manager's living room. The shop manager's house was decorated luxuriously, and it felt good to chat in this environment. The only drawback was that there were no summer pastries. Sasuke-kun. Hinata greeted Sasuke. Naruto sat on the sofa and said, Don't be shy, find a place to sit and chat. Although the surrounding scenery is illusory, what you projected here is also spiritual power, so it's similar to a real object. You can sit. Sasuke and Hinata sat down. At the same time, in the stone room where Sasuke was, a talisman line in the doppelganger's hand climbed up Sasuke's clothes. It was ready to touch the seal on Sasuke's neck. If it connects to Sasuke, he will definitely feel it. Or should I ask for Sasuke's opinion? In the spiritual world established by Naruto, Naruto said, Sasuke, I want to see the seal on your neck, is that okay? Sasuke looked at Naruto warily. Naruto shrugged. If you don't let me see it, I won't. Don't worry, I'm just curious. Recently, I went to the sealing class to learn sealing techniques for a while, and I'm a little curious about whether the seal developed by Orochimaru is related to the seal in sealing techniques. Then, he pointed to Hinata beside him. If you don't believe me, you can ask Hinata. I really went to learn sealing techniques. Sasuke hesitated, then he asked, What do you want from me this time? Naruto rolled his eyes, and with a wave of his hand, a forbidden technique scroll appeared in his hand, and then he threw it to Sasuke. Consider it compensation for your right hand, see if there are any ninjutsu you want to learn. Sasuke was taken aback, and said with uncertainty, This is... Naruto grinned and said, Would Leaf's forbidden technique scroll, I learned shadow clone jutsu from this scroll. Sasuke couldn't calm down, and at the same time, Hinata looked at Naruto in shock. Naruto waved his hand again and made a copy of the scroll and threw it to Hinata. If you are interested, you can also take a look. Hinata caught the scroll foolishly, and carefully unfolded a corner. The first ninjutsu, Shadow Clone Jutsu. Sasuke flipped through the scroll faster than Hinata, and one forbidden technique after another appeared in front of his eyes. Naruto rolled his eyes and said, You're not going to copy it, are you? Then your style is quite similar to mine. You have a promising future. Soon, he flipped to the end of the scroll, and it was the 4-symbol seal. Sasuke raised his head in shock. Is this all real? Naruto shrugged and said, Of course it's real, what's the point of giving you a fake one? Make you suffer from chi deviation and die? It's not as simple as giving you a bullet. Sasuke didn't know what Qigong deviation was, and after confirming that it was real, he lowered his head again. Naruto suggested, Don't look at the Shadow Clone Jutsu, you don't have as many chakra as one of my clones, you don't have a future in learning Shadow Clone Jutsu. The latter ninjutsu, Wood Leaf Sword Jutsu, and Dance of the Three Suns and Moons are very suitable for you. This ninjutsu needs to be combined with genjutsu to affect people's perception of time. The stronger the genjutsu, the more powerful the genjutsu will be, and then kill the target with 3-sword jutsu. You have Sharingan, so this technique will be more powerful in your hands. There is also the Night Walk Jutsu, which is also a genjutsu, you should study it carefully. If you can combine these two ninjutsu and create a night kill jutsu, that would be cool. Sasuke was taken aback. He looked up and asked, how can two ninjutsu be combined into one? Naruto rolled his eyes and said, stupid, you should figure out the principle of ninjutsu, extract the principle of dance of the three suns and moons affecting people's perception of time, and then extract the principle of night walk jutsu blinding people and slowing their body's reaction, and then recombine them, right? Sasuke frowned. This sentence is simple, but he hasn't seen anyone combine two ninjutsu. Wait, it seems that Chidori used the lightning body flicker and the lightning attribute chakra's penetrating power to combine the ninjutsu in his hands. It seems to work. Sasuke secretly remembered Naruto's words about combining two ninjutsu and continued to memorize the ninjutsu on the scroll. He just looked at it once and didn't memorize it. Naruto continued to guide, there is also a mutual explosion tag, it is worth learning, but if you want to play this trick, you have to have money. But I think Orochimaru shouldn't be short of money. By the way, since I gave you the forbidden jutsu scroll, can you let me study your curse seal? Don't worry, it won't have any effect on your body. Naruto pursed his lips and smiled, revealing his fox tail. Chapter 214. Sasuke raised his head and looked at Naruto. How are you going to study it? Naruto has shown him the forbidden technique scroll. As long as he doesn't hurt himself, it's not impossible to let Naruto study the curse seal. Naruto gave Sasuke a reassuring look and said kindly, you don't have to do anything, I will control the talisman thread to link to your curse seal. With that, the talisman thread that had already climbed to Sasuke's collar finally linked to the curse seal on Sasuke's neck. In the spiritual space established by Naruto, Naruto said to Sasuke, how is it? Do you feel any discomfort? I have already linked it with the talisman thread. At this moment, Sasuke felt that the curse seal was active, but there was indeed no discomfort. Nodding, he continued to memorize the ninjutsu on the forbidden technique scroll. When the talisman thread was linked to the curse seal, Naruto felt that his consciousness entered an independent space. This feeling is similar to the feeling when the Ein seal was planted. Naruto had a hunch that Orochimaru's curse seal must be related to the sealing technique. The talisman thread was divided into countless threads that linked around this independent space. Deep invasion. At the same time, Naruto's consciousness also flowed into Sasuke's body. The curse seal on Sasuke's neck was triggered and began to heat up, spreading to the whole body. The great pain made Sasuke alert. At the same time, he grabbed Naruto, opening his Sharingan, 3 Tomo. He asked, what did you do to me? But when Sasuke's hand grabbed Naruto, a suction force came from Naruto's body. This scene is too familiar. It is the scene of swallowing the opponent's soul and fusing attributes. Naruto wanted to push Sasuke away, but he couldn't do it. He scolded, idiot, do you have nothing better to do than grab my collar? Hinata was startled and was about to come over, but Naruto stopped her. Don't come over, the farther the better. Hinata retracted her hand, looking anxious. The suction force lasted for 5 seconds. When the suction force disappeared, a golden thread appeared on a sharp corner of the pentagram on Naruto's forehead, but it only appeared for a moment and then disappeared. At the same time, part of Naruto's soul power was consumed. It's not a lot, just a little bit. Sasuke's spiritual power separated from Naruto. The spiritual link was broken. In the stone room, Sasuke raised his hand and pressed Naruto's clone to the ground. He shouted, what did you do to me? Naruto's doppelganger was almost disintegrated, his head turned 180 degrees and explained, don't be impulsive, I didn't do anything to hurt you, you shouldn't have grabbed me. My soul recently had a little problem and swallowed part of your soul power or spiritual power, but as long as you don't die, it will still recover. At this time, Sasuke opened his 3 Tomo Sharingan, half of his body entered the curse seal state, but the curse seal state was not opened by Sasuke, but by Naruto. Sasuke stared with his 3 Tomo Sharingan. Naruto continued to explain, let go first, don't be impulsive, I'm just a doppelganger, if it breaks, I can't send people over. Danzo was guarding outside. Naruto really couldn't send people over. Naruto stopped invading Sasuke's curse seal, and Sasuke's curse seal gradually calmed down and retracted into 3 tomo marks on his neck. Sasuke took a few breaths and stopped. Naruto got up from the ground and asked, "How much of your spiritual power was swallowed by me?" Sasuke closed his Sharingan, perceived the state of his body, and said with a black face, "Half. Half of his spiritual power was swallowed, so the amount of chakra will be reduced by half." Sasuke, who didn't have much chakra originally, had a black face. He asked, "Is it true that you can recover?" Naruto nodded repeatedly, because 9 tails was also swallowed by him and recovered. I haven't finished looking at your curse seal. Do you want to let me see it again? Don't worry, it won't cause any damage to your body. At most it will let your body enter the curse seal state for a period of time. Still looking? Sasuke couldn't hold back and kicked Naruto's clone. The clone exploded, and the detonation talismans collected by the clone also fell to the ground. There were 30 to 40 of them. The little snake, who was still connected to Naruto, was angry, raised its tail, and wrote on the ground, "You idiot." Sasuke glanced at the black and frowned. "Naruto?" The little snake waved its tail and continued to write, "It's me, your grandpa." Then it wrote on the ground, "Your grandpa kindly gave you a forbidden technique scroll to show you, and this is how you treat your grandpa. Your grandpa's clone still hasn't finished its business, and you kicked it until it exploded. You idiot. 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 Second chair. Believe it or not, your grandpa will blow up your nest with a multiplication detonation talisman." Sasuke looked at the your grandpa on the ground, and his eyelids twitched wildly. In the end, he couldn't bear it anymore, and the shuriken in his hand flew out and killed the black snake. The little black snake tenaciously stood upright for a while, and its tail wrote a final sentence on the ground, "Your grandpa." After the little black snake died, Sasuke shook his dizzy head and picked up a detonation talisman. It's an untriggered detonation talisman. It seems that Naruto didn't want to use this method to kill me. The detonation talisman had to be triggered before use. Some needed to be dripped with blood, and some needed to have chakra on the detonation talisman. Otherwise, it couldn't be controlled. Sasuke picked up the detonation talisman. Although there was no detonation talisman, it was still dangerous to throw it on the ground. Then he saw a small scroll. An information scroll. Sasuke injected chakra into it, and the information scroll became normal size. The scroll opened, and inside was the forbidden technique Naruto copied for him. Sasuke was slightly stunned, so Naruto really did give him a ninjutsu. For a while, his heart was a little complicated. The scroll opened to the end, and there was a message from Naruto. "Be good inside, and try to be a new person when you come out." It was a very nonsensical sentence, and the following was more normal. "By the way, don't forget what I told you. Orochimaru's resources are our future resources. Although I don't know when I will leave the village, it's impossible for me to stay in Woodleaf for the rest of my life. Don't forget my reminder. First of all, talents. Orochimaru's people can be recruited. Second of all, experimental data. I'm very interested in those, especially those related to curse seals. I have a hunch that curse seals should be related to sealing jutsu, and it's worth studying. Secondly, money. The more money the better. By the way, there are various laboratories, don't waste them. Come on boy, I'm not bragging, but even if you open your Manjikyu Sharingan now, you may not be my opponent, so don't play around, hurry up and practice. Finally, I apologize for destroying your arm. In fact, I didn't mean to. I didn't expect you to be so weak." Wahahaha. After reading Naruto's message, Sasuke's heart was touched, but it immediately evaporated. His face was dark, and he scolded, "Next time I see you, I'll beat you up." At this time, there was a loud explosion in the underground palace, and then a large area collapsed. Sasuke reacted quickly. He grabbed the iron bed and stood in the corner to prop up an empty space. He shrank in the corner while injecting chakra into the iron bed. It was a perfect self-rescue in the earthquake. And the person who caused the collapse of the underground palace was Tsunade, who entered monster mode. In front of her was Orochimaru, who was surrounded by snakes. It seems, the negotiation failed. Chapter 215. The underground palace collapsed, and the ground collapsed along with it. Looking from a distance, smoke and dust were everywhere, as if a weasel farted. Naruto was explaining to Hinata what had just happened, telling Hinata that he was fine, and Sasuke was also fine. Is Sasuke a lightning attribute? Did he devour the lightning attribute this time? If that's the case, then the souls he devoured in the past didn't actually devour the soul, but only the spiritual power, or part of the soul power. Just as she was thinking, a roaring sound came. Hinata rolled her eyes and looked over, and the two of them witnessed a spectacular scene together. The originally lush ground disappeared in the blink of an eye, the ground collapsed for more than 10 meters, and smoke and dust filled the air. Naruto and Hinata's spiritual link was still connected. It seems that my sensei is angry. Hinata was nervous. Then when should we do it? Naruto was also a little thirsty, licked his lips, and replied, "There is a saying that the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind, so we won't move until Danzo moves." Sigh. Tsunade-san, you have to hold on. Although Orochimaru is in his weakest state, Tsunade's hemophobia hasn't been cured yet. The sound of the explosion sounded again. Naruto looked through the Byakugan and found Tsunade's figure. He couldn't help but make a sound. In the Byakugan vision, Tsunade closed her eyes. This is a good trick. Since seeing blood will cause hemophobia, then closing her eyes and not looking will block the visual stimulation. Amazing, my sister. But this also proves that Tsunade's hemophobia hasn't been cured yet. Look for that guy Sasuke, he shouldn't be buried alive. Naruto said to Hinata, and Hinata agreed. Then he added, there is also Yakushi Kabuto, that guy might be here too. Last time he ran away, this time we will kill him. Byakugan scanned the ruins, and 4 figures jumped out first. They were the 4 Otoge-kure ninja, followed by the wood leaf Umbu. Among these people, the one wearing a beige captain-level cloak was particularly conspicuous. When Byakugan saw Kakashi, he also saw the big white fang that Kakashi was carrying. Naruto chuckled. Looks like Kakashi is quite satisfied with my skills. Hinata was puzzled. What craftsmanship? Naruto replied, do you see the sword on Kakashi's body? I forged it for him. Hinata agreed. Since Sensei Kakashi brought it with him, he must like it very much. 2 of the 8 wood leaf ninjas were injured, and the 4 ninjas of Otoge-kure entered the second state of Curse Seal. Where's Sasuke? Hinata was still searching, and so was Naruto. He won't be buried alive. This kind of death is too bad. The underground lightning flashed, and the sound of an electric current sounded like a bird's cry. Sasuke rushed out of the lightning. Look, he's fine. He just lost a little bit of spiritual strength. They were relieved to find Sasuke, and then they began to look for Yakushi Kabuto. Yakushi Kabuto was easy to find. They found Orochimaru, and then they found him. Just then, Orochimaru and Tsunade used summoning jutsu at the same time, and Manda and Katsuyuki's name, appeared. On Manda's head, Orochimaru and Yakushi Kabuto stood side by side. Look at Danzo's movements. Hinata shifted her gaze. About 800 meters away from the underground palace, Danzo stood on a tree trunk, squinting towards the direction of the underground palace. Beside him was the mountain wind, and Aburame's root was gone. Find Aburame's root. As he spoke, Naruto began to condense ice bullets in his hand, and at the same time, he expanded the tree hole. 50 ice bullets were ready. 50 ice bullets with explosive talismans. If only he had brought the 35 explosive talismans from the underground palace. Although 35 explosive talismans wouldn't have much of an effect, at this time, it was still a little bit. It's all that bastard Sasuke's fault. Idiot, melon, idiot, 2-headed chair, pretty boy. Thinking of Sasuke, Naruto couldn't help but curse. Hinata's eyes locked onto Aburame's root. Aburame's root was approaching Tsunade. This guy wants to directly attack Tsunade? Should I make a move? Logically speaking, it's not a good time to make a move. At this time, none of the 3 sides lost anyone. But I can't let him succeed. Naruto doesn't know how to deal with poisonous insects, and I can't risk Tsunade. Naruto raised his hand, and an ice bullet floated to his hand. He was ready to use monstrous force. At this time, Katsuyuki turned his head, opened his mouth, and shot a strong acid at Aburame's position. Where the acid splashed, the trees and vegetation directly dissolved, but Aburame's reaction was fast and she wasn't hit. Kakashi's body erupted with lightning, and his body disappeared. Raikiri. The target was Aburame's root. His speed was extremely fast. In a flash, the arc of lightning was still floating in the sky, and his right hand had already penetrated Aburame's body. Naruto only felt his scalp tingle, and he was a little surprised that he dodged such a fast attack. The second gate of Hashimon Tonku plus 10 times the wind attribute chakra's storm damage. If at that time he comprehended chakras 10 times the power of the wind attribute just a little bit later, then he would be receiving a boxed lunch now. After Kakashi dealt with Aburame's root, Naruto couldn't help but praise, Kakashi-sensei is still very reliable at the critical moment. Change of plan. Now that Aburame's root is dead, let's focus on killing Danzo. Naruto was about to look elsewhere when he found that Kakashi's body stiffened, and then he fell to the ground. Naruto couldn't help but curse. Fuck. Even if Hatake is 50-50, there's no need to be 50-50 like this. He's going to hang up after killing one person. Then the value of his existence lies in swapping out a person. That's the role of cannon fodder. Wait a minute, Kakashi's hand penetrated Aburame's body. Holy *T. Why did you have to penetrate Aburame's body? Naruto thought of a possibility, and that was that Kakashi was poisoned. He's carrying a sword as a decoration. He doesn't know how to use a sword. He's an idiot. Tens of thousands of marmots roared in Naruto's heart. Tsunade's eyes were closed at this time. Forget it, it's fortunate that her eyes were closed. If she opened her eyes and saw the blood on Kakashi's right hand, she would probably die. Suddenly, Naruto felt very tired. Why didn't he cure his phobia before looking for Orochimaru? Wasn't this the same as looking for death? His liver hurts. It hurts. Big boobs and no brains. Naruto cursed. Hinata froze in a daze for a moment and couldn't help but look at her own chest. But fortunately, she remembered what happened before, and the Byakugan was still in effect. Besides, this was a critical moment, so she decided not to pay attention to this sentence. But Hinata still couldn't help but wonder what Naruto meant by this sentence. No, she should be worried about Kakashi-sensei. Kakashi-sensei Naruto replied, it should be a poison bug. Let's pray for him first. I hope he can last until the end of the battle. By the way, why didn't Kakashi-sensei just cut off his arm? It was only a severed arm. If it was preserved well, he could have helped Kakashi reattach it. And even if it couldn't be reattached, he still had a prosthetic arm. Her kidneys hurt too. Kakashi suddenly collapsed, and Wood Leaf's Umbu ninjas quickly rushed to the scene to check on the situation. At the same time, they recognized Aburame. At this time, Danzo also moved. He walked step by step towards where Tsunade and Orochimaru were. Lock on to Danzo. Naruto took a deep breath, raised his right hand, and finished loading an ice bullet. Chapter 216. The tree bark was pushed away by Naruto's chakra, and the tree bark fell to the ground. At this time, Naruto was 1.8 kilometers away from Danzo. The ice bullet rotated at high speed and shot out with monstrous force. Boom! The moment the book cover fell, Byakugan's vision also became clearer. Under Naruto's monstrous force, the ice bullet traveled 1 kilometer in 3 seconds. The balance wings adjusted the angle and locked onto the target. 5 seconds later, the ice bullet was shot towards Danzo's heart. Just a little bit more. Naruto and his avatar shared their vision, and Danzo's heart was right in front of them. Suddenly, without any warning, Shan Feng sensed chakra's fluctuation and switched positions with Danzo at the critical moment. Naruto's mouth curled up. You're too late. Mutual detonation charm. The moment the ice bullet penetrated Sean Fingfing's body, the detonation charm exploded. At the same time, Naruto took out 1100 high-level detonation charms from the ninja store, and 13,000 intermediate detonation charms instantly detonated. Gong! A bright light shone brighter than the sun. Naruto was full of pride, but at the same time, his heart was bleeding. Money! More than 20 million was gone in the blink of an eye. Naruto didn't know how to pay back the money, but in order to kill Danzo, he had spent a lot of money. The moment the detonation charm shone, Naruto hugged Hinata and left the checkpoint. Shoot once and run. Before confirming whether Danzo was dead or not, Naruto would never expose his position. In the sky, waves of air rolled and a mushroom cloud rose into the sky. That old thief Danzo was dead, right? At that moment, there was no time to remove the seal on his right hand. Naruto poured all of his wind attribute chakra into the wings behind him. At the same time, he opened 2 of the 8 inner hidden gates and brought Hinata through the jungle. Hinata, white, I should rest for a while. Hinata wrapped her arms around Naruto's neck. She closed her eyes and leaned against Naruto's chest. Her body was trembling. What are you afraid of? Naruto asked. Hinata replied weakly, the power of the explosion scared me. Naruto's body was also trembling as he replied, I was also shocked, but that kind of attack can only explode once. Do you know, just now I instantly used 1,300 high-grade explosive talismans and another 13,000 mid-grade explosive talismans, adding up to over 20 million taels of silver. Hinata took a look at the scroll and asked, reciprocal detonation charm? But to summon so many explosive talismans, you would need a huge amount of chakra, right? Naruto, are you okay? Naruto laughed and said, hee hee, this time I didn't use my chakra, but a big fox in my body. When this is over, I'll take you to see him. He can be considered my teacher. Nine Tails replied, Tisk, a big fox, Teske, Tisk. Nine Tails became arrogant again. Naruto rolled his eyes and replied, it's just a saying, you're being unreasonable? If you have time, why don't you go and see if that Danzo is dead? Nine Tails replied, I can't sense him now. I have to wait for Chakra's riot to subside. Naruto ignored Nine Tails and continued to chat with Hinata. After flying for 5 minutes, Naruto chose a big tree with Hinata, and then used the previous method to dig a hole in the tree. The two hid in the tree hole and stuck the bark to their bodies. Hinata said, will the explosion just now also involve Naruto-sama? The explosion site was 800 meters away from Naruto-sama. When the explosion erupted, there was a shockwave nearly 2 kilometers away. Naruto rubbed his temples worriedly. Katsu's perception is still very sharp. She should be able to help Tsunade avoid it. I hope she can avoid it. Sigh. Isn't this explosion too strong? Hinata hugged Naruto and leaned her head on Naruto's shoulder, comforting him, if it's Tsunade-sama, she can definitely avoid it. By the way, Naruto, where did you get so many explosive tags? Mentioning the explosive tags, Naruto's mouth twitched painfully. I borrowed them from the store manager's ninja store. Store manager? Of course, Hinata knew that Naruto was still living in the store manager's house. Then she asked, then, do you need to pay it back? Naruto rolled his eyes, feeling that his waist was poked several times with a sword, and replied weakly, of course I need to pay it back. Hinata's eyes lit up, and she sat up and looked at Naruto and said, then let's pay it back together. Naruto froze for a moment, smiled, raised his hand and hugged Hinata in his arms, closed his eyes, and breathed in the fragrance of Hinata's hair. Well, let's pay it back together. The two hugged together. The shock caused by the explosion slowly subsided. 10 minutes later, the violent chakra gradually calmed down, and Nine Tails said, that guy's chakra fluctuation is still there. That guy? Danzo? Is Danzo a cockroach? How can he not die? Location. Nine Tails. The location of the explosion. Naruto rolled his eyes. After hugging Hinata for a while, he said, Hinata, my fox-sensei has sensed Danzo's chakra, that guy may not be dead yet. Hinata opened her eyes and looked at Naruto. In the faint light that penetrated through the cracks in the bark, the two looked at each other. Hinata's eyes were calm, and her body was no longer trembling, just looking at Naruto. Naruto raised his hand and pinched Hinata's little face. "What do you want to say?" Hinata said seriously, "I'll listen to you." Naruto chuckled. "Then you stay here, I'll go take a look at that old guy." Hinata shook her head. "I'll go with you." Naruto rolled his eyes. "Didn't you say you'll listen to me?" Hinata just looked at Naruto. Naruto hugged Hinata, and a test tube appeared in his hand. When he was about to open it, Hinata said, "If you drug me and make me faint here, I'll ignore you in the future." Naruto's mouth twitched. How could he forget that the supercilious eye had a 360-degree view? Naruto flicked the cork away with his thumb, and the liquid inside evaporated when it came into contact with the air. "How did you know I was going to drug you here? You suddenly became smart." Hinata's eyes were wide open, and her mouth was tightly shut. She stopped breathing. Naruto chuckled and kissed Hinata's little mouth. If it was a different time and place, Hinata might not have dodged, but this time, she was afraid that she wouldn't be able to hold her breath if Naruto kissed her, so she kept shaking her head to avoid Naruto's pursuit. "You won't let me kiss you? Okay, then I won't kiss you. This medicine will take effect once it comes into contact with your skin." Hearing Naruto's words, Hinata found that her vision was blurring. Naruto took out a quilt from his storage scroll and laid it down. Then, he laid Hinata down and smiled. "Go to sleep first. When you wake up, I'll come back to your side. Sweet dreams." Hinata's eyelids became heavier and heavier, and she felt wronged. Was she still a burden? She was so useless. She had worked very hard in her cultivation, but she still couldn't catch up to Naruto's pace. Naruto left the tree hole and disguised it. He took a deep breath and called out to Nine Tails. "Teacher Nine Llamas, don't drop the ball." Nine Tails replied, "Don't worry, leave him to me." Naruto shook his head. "No, he's mine. You're in charge of providing me with chakra. I need a lot of chakra." Nine Tails was stunned for a moment, then said, "One dessert." Naruto gritted his teeth. 10. Chapter 217. Hashiman Tonku, Gate of Opening, Gate of Rest, Open. The restriction on the brain was lifted, and his field of vision more than doubled. Naruto took a deep breath and poured the wind attribute chakra into his wings, and his speed suddenly increased. 5 minutes later, he arrived 2 kilometers away from the explosion site. It was spectacular. The trees within a kilometer of the explosion site were all flattened. Rolling black smoke reduced the visibility to an extremely low level. The naked eye couldn't see the scene inside at all. Only a circle of bright flames could be vaguely seen. As for the inside, because the explosion consumed all the oxygen, the flames couldn't burn. The thick smoke was relatively less, and most of it was the smoke around that was blown back. Naruto couldn't understand how Danzo survived such a huge explosion. At the same time, he was a little worried about Tsunade. If Tsunade was implicated and died because of this, then it would be a joke. Nine Llamas, Sensei, can you sense Danzo's specific location? Nine Tails frowned. You don't accept my chakra, how can I accurately sense it? Naruto thought for a while and shook his head. Find that guy first, and determine the situation before you use your chakra. Now the enemy's situation is unknown. If you use your chakra, then our only advantage now will be gone. Nine Tails. What advantage? Naruto rolled his eyes. The enemy is in the light, and we're in the dark. Nine Tails complained, we don't even know where the enemy is, what's the point of being in the light? Naruto was speechless. It turns out that Nine Tails is not stupid. He added, although we haven't found the enemy yet, there are still advantages. At least the enemy doesn't know of our existence. On this basis, if we can find the enemy first, wouldn't it be more advantageous? Nine Tails still didn't buy it. Do you need to be so careful? Just leave it to me, and I'll blast him to death with my 9 llamas cannon. What is the 9 llamas cannon? By Jadama? Naruto and Nine Tails complained to each other as they approached the site of the explosion. However, the concealment was only 1 kilometer away. After all, 1 kilometer around the core of the explosion had been flattened. After advancing for a kilometer, they arrived at the edge of the explosion. Rolling smoke and steaming hot air filled the air. Naruto was well prepared. He even had a pair of goggles. The only thing missing was an oxygen tank. But with chakra around, it wouldn't be a problem even if he didn't breathe for a while. Naruto crouched low on the ground and prepared to use Shadow Doppelganger and Beast Doppelganger. Suddenly, he thought of how convenient it would be to catch a snake. With thermal vision, it should be easy to find people. However, on second thought, it seemed that snakes were afraid of smoke. Ordinary snakes might not even be able to enter the explosion zone. This was a pain in the ass. The heat from the explosion rose, and the surrounding cold air rolled back. The thick smoke was blown away by the wind. Vaguely, they could see 2 gigantic creatures looming in the smoke. Victory, the slug's name, and Manda? Naruto was a little nervous. The snake's thermal vision was very sensitive. He didn't want to be discovered. However, Naruto was worried for nothing. At this time, Manda's field of vision was red. The temperature of the entire explosion site was surprisingly high. A person's normal temperature couldn't be seen here. Get out of my mouth, or I'll swallow you directly. You used me to block the explosion. Next time, don't come to me without a sacrifice of 10,000 people, or I'll swallow you. Manda was very angry. He opened his mouth, and his tongue lashed out at Orochimaru and Kabuto. Orochimaru and Kabuto left first. Kabuto repeatedly promised, "Manda-sama, please calm down. Next time, I'll definitely prepare a sacrifice of 10,000 people for you." The snake dowager coughed violently a few times, then shouted, "You better remember what you said." Then, with a bang, she left. Orochimaru's face was gloomy. Squinting his eyes, the surrounding smoke was a little spicy. In contrast, Tsunade's slug was much better. Its body secreted a layer of mucus at this time. Coupled with its soft body, the explosion didn't hurt it much. Tsunade crawled out of the slug's mouth, covered in mucus, and looked a little dirty. Orochimaru squinted and was about to speak when a voice sounded in the smoke. "Tsunade, I underestimated you. But do you think this explosion alone can kill me?" The voice was Danzo's. The clogs on the ground made a clicking sound, and Danzo walked step by step toward Tsunade from the smoke. From Orochimaru's mouth, Tsunade already knew about Danzo's existence, and that Danzo and Orochimaru were colluding. Orochimaru asked if she was willing to cooperate. If she was willing, Orochimaru was willing to join forces with her to deal with Danzo, but Tsunade refused. Danzo approached, and the old wrinkled pineapple-shaped face gradually became clear in the smoke. His body was spotless, but half of the black robe on the right side of his body hung down, and his right hand covered in bandages was exposed. Tsunade's voice was cold, and she questioned, "Sandaime Naruto's death was secretly driven by you, right?" Danzo squinted and sneered, "You're sad for him. It seems that you still don't know how Kato and Nawaki died." Kato was Tsunade's only weakness. At this time, when she heard their names, her heart couldn't help but jump. She asked, "What do you mean?" Danzo continued, "Nothing, 2 young men who were determined to become Naruto died one after another. What a coincidence." Tsunade stared at Danzo, gritted her teeth, and said, "Don't think that everyone is as despicable as you. They're not the only people who want to become Naruto." Danzo smiled, and his wrinkled old face squeezed together. He continued to mock, "But they are the most qualified people to inherit Naruto in the future. One is your lover, and the other is your brother. Who else is more qualified than them?" Tsunade shouted, "Nonsense. When Kato and Nawaki were in danger, Sandaime Naruto wasn't there at all. Danzo laughed. I just arranged more dangerous tasks for them. Killing people doesn't mean you have to do it yourself. Tsunade. I didn't expect that you still haven't grown up after becoming Naruto. This also makes me believe that you're not the right person to be Naruto. Tsunade sneered. Sandame Naruto just passed away, and Woodleaf hasn't settled down yet. You attacked me without considering the overall situation. Are you the right person for Naruto? Besides, even if I die, the position of Naruto won't be yours. Danzo raised his hand to pull the bandage on his right hand and said, Do you want to talk about Jiraiya? With Jiraiya's personality, he won't inherit Naruto's position. I just need to tell him that it was Orochimaru who killed you, and then Jiraiya will chase Orochimaru all over the world. Orochimaru shrugged and smiled. I'm not in a good state right now. I may not be able to deal with a red-eyed madman who lost his sweetheart. Danzo's hand pulled a corner of the bandage, paused, and smiled. It doesn't matter, I'll help you kill him when the time comes. As he said that, he used his left hand to remove the bandage. At this time, a scarlet sword flashed. Nine Tails Chakra changed to Wind Release, Storm Damage. Hashiman Tonku, the third gate, Gate of Life, open. Chakra Tenfold Eruption. At this moment, Naruto's speed was faster than when he dodged Kakashi's Raikiri. At the same time, the storm damage under the three gates was also destroying Naruto's body. The wound was deep into the bone, and the blood evaporated in the surging chakra, dyeing the sword red. Die. Chapter 218. That sword light was so fast that the three of them couldn't react in time. When they saw it, Danzo's body was motionless, then his right hand fell to the ground, and his upper body slid down from the waist, and his whole body was cut diagonally at the waist. Who is it? Orochimaru's eyes followed the red light. Danzo's upper body fell to the ground, and blood spurted from his lower body, and the scorched air was filled with a dry and fishy smell of rust. The whole process fell into Tsunade's eyes, and the blood stained the ground and Tsunade's world red. The fear of blood swept all her mind in an instant, and her body was out of control, trembling constantly, and she couldn't even speak. Naruto rushed hundreds of meters in 0.1 seconds and stopped. It was only 0.1 seconds from the time he slashed out, but his whole body was covered with bones visible to the naked eye. 9 llamas. Sensei, hurry up. Continue to increase chakra. Otherwise, I'll die. Nine Tails was also a little nervous. Under the spiritual link, he felt that Naruto's neck was cut by the wind blade, so chakra poured into Naruto's body. He cursed, Is this your bullshit method? Open 3 gates and enter the body flicker technique? Why don't you swallow thousands of explosive charms and blow yourself up? Naruto's body was covered in dark red chakra of 9 tails, and 3 fox tails grew directly behind his buttocks. At the same time, the wounds on Naruto's body were healing quickly. 9 tails chakra had a healing effect, and Naruto activated the cells with the creation regeneration technique, so the healing speed was even faster. It should not be weaker than the creation regeneration technique in the state of Baihao technique. The wound on his neck healed, and Naruto spat out a mouthful of blood, and felt a lot more relaxed. After the wounds on Naruto's body were healed, Danzo's body suddenly disappeared, and in a flash, a whole Danzo was restored. He murmured, I almost didn't make it in time. Then he felt 9 tails chakra. With a thought, his body disappeared from the body flicker technique, and rushed to the place where he perceived 9 tails chakra. At the moment when Danzo moved, 9 tails also perceived Danzo's existence. 9 tails, kid, since you didn't kill him, let's see how your grandpa will kill him. Saying that, he took over Naruto's body. Kyuubi's chakra burst out. His tail bent and pressed on the ground. The next moment, it straightened, and Naruto's body quickly bounced out. Just in time to avoid Danzo's wooden stake. Naruto saw that 9 tails took over the control of his body and warned, Be careful of his wood release, and the Sharingan in his right eye. 9 tails, while avoiding Danzo's would release attack, replied, Your information is wrong, I didn't feel the Sharingan's spiritual fluctuations in his right eye. Didn't feel it. Naruto had a guess in his heart, and muttered to himself, could it be that Danzo didn't have time to remove the seal on his right arm, so he used his right eye to perform Izanagi? Are you sure there are no Sharingan's spiritual fluctuations? Nine Tails affirmed. No. Naruto was happy, so it seems, that the explosion had a little effect? At least it destroyed Danzo's Koto Amatsukami. Kyuubi dodged as a pitch-black sphere appeared in his mouth. Look carefully, this is the real deal. The black ball sprayed out. The explosion was no weaker than the explosion caused by the explosive tag before. By Jadama. But it didn't hit. 5 wooden pillars drilled out from Naruto's side and were about to lock Naruto in the Nine Tails mode. Nine Tails used chakra and narrowly escaped. Nine Tails, chakra is not enough. I want to increase chakra. Naruto hesitated. Nine Lamas, sensei, can I trust you? Nine Tails in the cage looked at Naruto, who was wrapped in the blood-red chakra, and sneered, where's the courage you had when you worshipped me as your teacher? Naruto's expression was serious. I can feel that if I accept your chakra further, I can no longer maintain consciousness, and I can no longer take back control of my body. Nine Lamas grinned. Then add 10 more desserts. Can I trust Nine Tails? With Nine Tails' chakra wrapped around his body, Naruto could feel some of Nine Tails' thoughts. There was no madness that could destroy the world, it was very calm, more like an undercurrent. Naruto could feel that the killing intent was directed at Danzo. Naruto said, don't hurt Dotsunade. Naruto accepted Nine Tails' chakra, and the 4th tail gradually appeared behind Naruto. At the same time, Naruto, who had entered Nine Tails mode, covered with a layer of fox-like bones, once again used a layer of muscles. His body suddenly expanded as well. But at this moment, an Umbu ninja wearing a black trench coat and a mask suddenly jumped out from under Naruto's body. With a hand seal, the wooden stake wrapped around Nine Tails' body. It's the idiot Yamato. Danzo seized the opportunity to use Mokuton to wrap around him. Naruto's consciousness, which had just begun to feel dizzy, instantly sobered up. He cursed. Fuck. Where did this idiot come from? Yamato actually didn't know the situation, he had been hiding underground. He sensed Nine Tails' chakra and came out, so he used Mokuton to seal Nine Tails. Nine-tailed Fox's heart was also on the verge of breaking down. He felt as if he had been slapped in the face for showing off. He was angry. But under the two's Mokuton binding, chakra didn't listen at all and was suppressed back into the body. Naruto roared, don't struggle. Quick. Remove all your chakra and change with me. Hurry up. It'll be too late if you get caught. At this time, chakra is only wrapped around the tail. It'll be useless if it's wrapped around the body. Nine Tails wanted to struggle again. After all, it was too embarrassing, but he knew that it was useless to struggle, so he obediently took back his chakra. Naruto's Nine Tails status was instantly removed, and the control of the body fell back into Naruto's hands. Wind Release's storm injury instantly erupted, and wind blades swept out, rushing out of the entanglement of Mokuton. Yamato chased, Naruto dodged while roaring, "Are you a fucking idiot?" Yamato was stunned by the scolding, but he continued to chase. Naruto pulled out the blue sleeve sword, and under the effect of storm injury, chakra burst out with 5 times the normal speed. His speed suddenly increased, ignoring the injuries on his body, the blue sleeve sword slashed out. Yamato used Mokuton to block, and the sharp blade of the blue sleeve sword directly cut through. The moment the blue sleeve sword was aimed at Yamato, the blue sleeve sword's characteristic of 3 times the normal length was activated. Yamato's speed was far slower than Itachi's, not to mention that Naruto's current speed was faster than that. The suddenly extended blue sleeve sword directly pierced through Yamato's right arm. Naruto didn't hold back. At this moment, no matter who stood in his way, he would kill them. If he hesitated for a moment, Danzo would join the battle, and he would be the one to die. Die. The blue sleeve sword rose up from Yamato's right shoulder, and the moment the sword rose up, Yamato's head would fall to the ground. At the critical moment, a wooden stake wrapped around Yamato's body and pulled him back, and the sword missed. Yamato said gratefully, "Danzo, sama." Naruto's mouth twitched when he heard this. "You really are a fucking clown invited by a monkey. What should I do? I can't kill Danzo now. Then I'll take Tsunade away." Multiple shadow clone jutsu. 500 Naruto fled in all directions. Naruto ran towards Tsunade. But just as he was about to grab Tsunade and carry her, Orochimaru suddenly appeared in front of him and laughed. "You're very interesting." Naruto's face darkened. "Today, it's over." He changed the direction of his sword and slashed. "Can I kill Orochimaru with one strike? I don't think there's any hope." Chapter 219. The sword gleam flashed and Orochimaru was cut in half. Naruto was dumbfounded. Then with a bang, Orochimaru, who had broken into 2 pieces, disappeared. Was it a clone? Or was it a shadow clone? Naruto did not stop. He carried Tsunade and ran away at full speed. At the same time, he saw Orochimaru standing not far away looking at him with a smile. He had no intention of attacking. Did Orochimaru let him go on purpose? Naruto and Orochimaru brushed past each other 200 meters apart. Yamato chased after him. However, when he saw Orochimaru, he controlled the wooden dummy to attack him. Naruto almost laughed out loud when he saw that. Yamato was definitely a clown sent by monkeys. What a troublemaker. In the blink of an eye, he was 300 to 400 meters away. Naruto saw Sasuke, who was dumbfounded. Before he could greet him, he sped up. However, at that moment, there was a suction force behind him. The wind was blowing backward. It was Danzo's psychic beast, the Nightmare Taper. Naruto remembered that he had taught Hinata that if Danzo's Nightmare Taper sucked, there was no need to be afraid. Just mix the explosive talisman with the thing that was sucked and blow up the guy's head. However, he did not have a single explosive talisman with him. He had cleared all of them when he stopped Danzo earlier. It was over. Wait a minute. He could still be saved. He connected to Sasuke through the pseudo-mental link. "Sasuke, use the Grand Fireball." Sasuke's reaction was not slow. He quickly performed hand seals. Sasuke swore that this was the smoothest Grand Fireball Jutsu seal he had ever performed in his life. Fire release. Grand Fireball Jutsu. The fireball with a diameter of 5 meters was sucked backward by the wind. The wind helped the fire and the diameter of the 5-meter fireball increased by more than 3 times. The silly Nightmare Taper could not stop even if it wanted to. It sucked the fireball into its stomach and shrieked from the heat. Subsequently, it flew back to where it came from with a thud. "Thanks, I'll treat you to a meal next time." Naruto infused chakra into his back. He wanted to take off, but the chakra armor on his body had already been torn to shreds by the wind blades when Naruto used storm damage. He lifted his wings, and another large piece fell off. It was impossible to fly. Naruto suddenly felt a sharp pain in his liver. With Tsunade in his arms, Naruto couldn't use storm damage. He could only use his monstrous strength to rush out. At the same time, the pseudo-spiritual link connected with Tsunade. "Sister, pull yourself together. Otherwise, I'll be hanging up today." When Tsunade heard Naruto's voice, she subconsciously opened her eyes and saw Naruto covered in blood. She almost fainted. You're injured?" Naruto replied through the mental link, "Sis, I'm going to die if you don't pull yourself together." Tsunade's body was shaking, and the blood on Naruto's body was oozing out of his wounds. It looked terrifying. Tsunade struggled to lift her hand and said in a panic, "I'll heal you now." However, in reality, the closer Tsunade's hand was to Naruto's wounds, the more it was shaking. She could not even move chakra, let alone heal him. At that moment, Danzo caught up with him again. He was much faster than Naruto and stood in front of Naruto in a flash. Naruto changed his target to chakra while Danzo stood in front of him again. There was a mocking smirk on his old face. To Naruto, that smirk was like a disgusting chrysanthemum that had not been wiped clean. Danzo spoke, "I didn't expect you to be able to control Nine Tails' power. Not bad. Put down Tsunade and follow me. I'll let you live." "I'm doomed. I'm really doomed this time." Suddenly, a coin fell between him and Danzo. Naruto wanted to ask who dropped the coin, but the next moment, the coin suddenly expanded. Just as Naruto was about to dodge, a familiar voice sounded, "Stay where you are." It was Gurney's voice. In the past, when he was at the store manager's house, Naruto hated this voice the most. Because once this voice was heard, it meant trouble. But today, it was as pleasant as the sound of nature. Could it be that he had reinforcements? Naruto did not move. In the blink of an eye, the coin expanded into an iron ball and wrapped Naruto in it. The fog rose, and Danzo cautiously looked around. Gurney's figure appeared behind the iron ball. He lifted his foot and kicked the iron ball as if he was shooting a goal. He shouted, "Go." This was a colloquial phrase that Tsunade said to him when she helped him overcome his fear of heights. Gurney learned it when he delivered food. In the past, when Gurney flew beside Naruto, he would deliberately say this phrase. Naruto was so angry that he lost his appetite for half a month. But today, it was as pleasant as the sound of nature. Duong! Gurney's foot kicked the iron ball, and the iron ball was launched. Danzo took a deep breath and shot an air bomb at Gurney. Gurney's body turned into mist first, and the air bomb missed. Naruto flew for 5 seconds before he was caught. The metal film that the coin had turned into shrank and turned back into a coin. At the same time, Naruto saw the person who caught him. It was Big Gurney. Little Gurney was standing beside him. After the metal coin recovered, it floated beside Gurney. Steel release? A special Kekki Genkai? Or magnet release? But the metal extension should be steel release. How did you guys get here? Little Gurney replied, "Because we've been following Naruto Onii-san." "Let's talk later. Naruto Onii-san. Let's deal with this annoying guy first." Then, the coin in Gurney's hand extended again and turned into a sharp spear. Big Gurney raised his foot and pressed it on the spear. Then, the spear spun rapidly and pierced into the fog with a chirp. Naruto was dumbfounded. What did Daguni do to the spear? Magnet release? The mist dispersed, and Danzo's body was pierced. The spear turned into a thorny ring, and its end was connected. It hurt just by looking at it. Gurney stood in front of Danzo and pressed his hand on Danzo's head. Then, Danzo's body turned red and exploded. He turned around and made a victory sign. Mission accomplished. From the beginning to the end, he had the home field advantage. It was a perfect slaughter. Who were these 3 people? They were definitely not wood leaf ninjas. If they were, there was no way he couldn't find any information about them. The thought flashed through Naruto's mind, and at the same time, he felt a sense of danger. Danzo couldn't be killed so easily. Be careful. Naruto put down Tsunade and rushed back with storm damage. But it was too late. Danzo's hand suddenly pierced through Gurney's back. Gurney's eyes widened, and he looked at the hand on his chest in disbelief. He muttered to himself, "Huh? I already killed him? He can't be a clone." Gurney raised his head and looked at Naruto. He smiled and said, "Sorry. It was a mistake." Gurney was still smiling, but Naruto wanted to cry. In the past, he had wanted to kill Gurney more than once because Gurney didn't have the slightest awareness that he was being saved. He always ridiculed him without hesitation. In Naruto's words, Gurney was an arrogant idiot. But at this moment, when he saw Gurney die in front of him, and when he saw Danzo's hand piercing through Gurney's body, Naruto felt terrible and angry. "Let go." Naruto went crazy. His anger was like an erupting volcano that couldn't be contained. 9 tails. Chakra. 9 tails chakra filled his body. Chakra's monstrous strength increased tenfold. Boom. Naruto stomped a big hole in the ground and disappeared. Chakra gathered in his hand. He rotated and compressed it into a crimson-red Rasengan. At the same time, a layer of Chakra's membrane appeared around the Rasengan. "I'll let you. Let go." Naruto appeared beside Danzo. With a burst of monstrous strength, the Rasengan in his hand was shot out. A wooden pillar appeared on Danzo's body, and then he was sent flying by the Rasengan. Naruto caught the limp Gurney. Gurney spat out a mouthful of blood and laughed. "I didn't expect you to cry for me." His tears flowed out uncontrollably, and then evaporated in the surging chakra. Naruto did not reply. He gathered the yang chakra on Gurney's chest and healed him. Gurney laughed. "It's useless. My heart is gone." Naruto did not feel a heart. In his anger, he charged at Danzo. Danzo must die. If he couldn't die once, he would kill him 10 times. 100 times. Chapter 220. 1 Rasengan. 2 Rasengan. 3 Rasengan. Who knows how many Rasengan? The Rasengan shot out from zero distance was powerful and landed on Danzo's body like a cannonball. However, apart from being sent flying by the first blow, Danzo was able to withstand it with Mokuton. Mokuton's restraint on Nine Tails chakra was despairing. At the same time, Danzo's taijutsu was much higher than Naruto's, so he had the upper hand in parrying. There were several times when Naruto was almost entangled by Mokuton. Danzo dodged a Rasengan shot out by Naruto, and his fist wrapped in a wooden stake hit Naruto's abdomen from 3 meters away. "Take it." Naruto was sent flying. Danzo followed up with a body flicker technique and slammed down from above. Boom! Naruto was slammed into the ground, creating a 3-meter deep pit. Danzo sneered coldly, "You're as weak as an ant now." At this moment, there was a loud shout. "Whose disciple are you calling an ant?" Tsunade formed a seal with both hands, and the Ein seal was released. The purple diamond-shaped seal bloomed into the shape of a butterfly, and the ground rumbled. Tsunade kicked Danzo's body. Mokuton was broken, and Danzo spat out a mouthful of blood. However, he pressed his hand on Tsunade's hand. He sneered, "As Naruto, you're afraid of blood. You're just a bigger ant." Bind. 1 sentence. 1 word. The black seal crawled all over Tsunade's body. It was the binding seal of the sealing technique. Then, Danzo held a kunai in his hand and stabbed it. The kunai didn't enter the flesh, but it wasn't Tsunade's body, but Naruto's palm. "Old man, your opponent is me." Holding Danzo's right hand with his left hand, he raised his sword. Danzo's right arm was cut off. However, the Sharingan on his right arm slowly closed. At this time, he was still under Izanagi's spell. The next moment, Naruto's right arm disappeared and reappeared on Danzo's body. At this time, for Sharingan closed on Danzo's right arm. Danzo stood in the distance, looking down at Naruto and Tsunade, and said indifferently, "It's useless. No matter how many times it is repeated, ants are ants." Naruto looked at Tsunade. Tsunade's body was shaking, and her hematophobia was still not cured. Oh no. Danzo was not Medicine Master Pocket. He did not give them any time to catch their breath. "If Tsunade doesn't work..." Tsunade trembled and said, "Electron." Naruto was stunned. Tsunade repeated, "The key to the second level of monster strength is electrons." Electrons? Naruto thought of Mute's Flurry Charge. The kind of ninjutsu that converts chakra into electrons to form an electric field into the enemy's body to disrupt the enemy's nervous system. However, what does this electron have to do with the second layer of superimposed monster strength? Danzo looked at Tsunade and sneered, "Do you want to teach me on the spot? How naive are you? If an ant can defeat me with a sentence, then I'd rather die." Tsunade continued to look at Naruto and said with a trembling body, "Electrons, repulsion, electrons." Danzo shook his head, and the sarcasm on his face was even more obvious. However, Naruto understood. If it was someone else, they might not understand, but Naruto understood. Charges of the same kind repel each other, and different charges attract each other. Add another layer of membrane outside a membrane, and the two membranes will merge into one membrane. But what if the two membranes repel each other? Monster Strength Mode. First Gear Monster Strength. Nine Tails Crimson Tail surged on Naruto's body. Danzo raised his hand and threw a wooden stake at him, shouting, "Those who don't know their limits are the ones who are truly pitiful." Naruto grabbed Tsunade's body and used his second gear Monster Strength. His body disappeared with Tsunade. When he reappeared, he was next to Gunny. His voice was hoarse. "I will avenge Gunny. Now, please help me take care of her." Then, Naruto disappeared. Tsunade looked at Naruto's disappearing figure and smiled bitterly. "Hey. I knew that as long as I told this guy, he would learn." After saying that, she closed her eyes and fainted. When Naruto reappeared, he was behind Danzo. Second Gear Monster Strength. Rasengan. Launch. Danzo reacted quickly, and several layers of wooden stakes blocked in front of him. However, the Rasengan dissipated before it could hit him. Danzo felt that he had been toyed with. In fact, Naruto had no intention of toying with him. Instead, there were some problems with the Rasengan. To be precise, the Rasengan was wrapped in a membrane, and it couldn't be launched. As soon as the Rasengan was launched, the membrane broke, and the chakra blasted the Rasengan away. Could it be that it had to be wrapped in two membranes as well? With this thought in mind, Naruto tried again. Another Rasengan appeared in his hand. Second membrane. Success. The ground surged, and layers of wooden stakes attacked Naruto. Naruto held the Rasengan in his hand. Second Gear Monster Strength. Launch. Boom. A layer of white mist surged out. Sound barrier? Did this attack exceed the speed of sound? The Rasengan collided with the wooden stakes and exploded. A large number of wooden stakes were swept away. However, Naruto noticed something else. 60 seconds have passed, and the eye on Danzo's right arm was still open. One reason is that Danzo has become stronger, and he can maintain his Sharingan for a longer period of time. The other reason is that Danzo has turned off Izanagi. Looking down on me? Chakra's membrane changed from 2 to 3. Third Gear Monster Strength. Naruto condensed a Rasengan in his hand, but the membrane on the Rasengan disappeared after adding the third layer. It was very unstable. Naruto removed the Rasengan. He clenched his fist. Third Gear Monster Strength. Naruto disappeared and punched Danzo. Danzo still had wooden stakes to block, but this time, the wooden stakes were all shattered. Then the punch hit Danzo's body, and Danzo's body was thrown away. Third Gear Monster Strength broke out again. Naruto flashed and appeared behind Danzo, who was still flying in the air, and hammered down with both hands. Boom! Danzo was smashed to the ground. However, before hitting the ground, Danzo suddenly spat out an air bomb and saved his life with the reaction force of the air bomb. Naruto looked down at Danzo, and a hoarse voice sounded, "Hey! You closed Izanagi, didn't you? If you don't, you will die." Danzo looked at Naruto in confusion. He wondered how Naruto knew about Izanagi, but he was even more puzzled. He didn't understand why Naruto reminded him. At that moment, he was indeed in danger, but he didn't die. He sneered, "If it's only to this extent, it can't kill me." Third Gear Monster Strength. Naruto appeared in front of Danzo and kicked Danzo away. He shouted, "I told you to open Izanagi, did you hear me?" He flashed and appeared under Danzo, bowed, and uppercut. The punch hit Danzo's chin. Danzo blocked with chakra, but 7 or 8 teeth were also shattered, and he was also thrown into the air with this punch. Third Gear Monster Strength broke out again, and his feet stepped on the ground. Boom! Naruto rose at a speed 10 times faster than Danzo, turned around, and slashed. Boom! Danzo's body was smashed to the ground like a broken sack. It's reasonable to say that third gear shouldn't be this strong, but who told him to use the Kyuubi's chakra. Naruto stood in front of Danzo and didn't continue to pursue. His blood-red eyes were scarlet, and his voice was like a bone-scraping knife. "I told you to open Izanagi." Danzo spat out a mouthful of blood, narrowed his eyes at Naruto, and said, "As you wish." As he spoke, his hands quickly formed a seal. "Mao Hai Wei." Naruto looked down at Danzo and grinned. "You opened it?" Danzo didn't answer, but mocked, "You will pay for your stupidity." The corner of Naruto's mouth cracked open, revealing his white teeth. His teeth opened and closed. "Very good. Next, I will let you die for 6 minutes. 9 Lamas Sensei. Increase chakra. 4th gear monster strength." Boom! Naruto's body moved with a sound barrier. When he appeared again, he was already behind Danzo, and his hand pierced Danzo's spine. Grabbing the spine, he threw it up. In the next moment, he appeared behind Danzo and grabbed Danzo again. Holding Danzo, 4th gear monster strength exploded, and shot Danzo to the ground like a bullet. Human bomb. Chapter 221. Boom! Danzo didn't gather chakra to block. The 9 tails chakra hit Danzo's body. In the fierce impact, Danzo's flesh was peeled off in the blink of an eye, revealing his internal organs and bones. 1 second. 2 seconds. Danzo resurrected and reappeared in his original position. Naruto's eyes were red, and his pupils were the vertical pupils of a fox. 5th gear monstrous strength. Burst. At this moment, after breaking through the sound barrier, Naruto's world was quiet, without a trace of sound. It was quiet. He silently appeared in front of Danzo and pressed his hand on Danzo's head. "This attack is because of Gunny." Monstrous strength erupted. Naruto used chakra to suck himself to the ground and endured the reaction force. His arm pressed down. Danzo's body was squeezed like a ripe persimmon, juice splattering everywhere. He was crushed to the ground together with his bones. He couldn't be more broken. 3 seconds. 4 seconds. Danzo resurrected again. 5th gear monstrous strength erupted. Naruto's bracelet was like Danzo's body. He pulled out the heart and then pressed it into Danzo's mouth. At the same time, he pressed Danzo's head to the ground and smashed it. "This attack is also for Gunny." 5 seconds. 6 seconds. Danzo resurrected again. Resurrection every 2 seconds. Death every 2 seconds. 7 seconds. 8 seconds. This time, it's for Tsunade. 9 seconds. 10 seconds. The Sharingan on Danzo's right hand was extinguished one by one. 6 minutes later, Danzo had died 178 times. There was only one attack left. Of course, he could kill him a second time. But the moment Naruto stopped, there was only one attack left. Naruto looked down at Danzo's body, which was intact, but he was lying on the ground like a puddle of mud. 180th second. The last Sharingan closed. "I'll give you 10 seconds to say your last words. To be precise. I want to hear what a guy like you will say after death." Danzo's body trembled, his hand seals, and he grinned. "I told you. You will pay for your stupidity." Runes appeared on Danzo's body. Seal. The seal structure's seal, but its structures was completely different. However, Naruto didn't move and just looked at Danzo. 1 second. 2 seconds. 3 seconds. Nothing happened. Danzo's eyes widened in disbelief. How is this possible? Touch, red eyes gone. Danzo looked at Naruto. Naruto mocked. "You want to die with me? Sorry, I'm also familiar with the seal of 4 symbols. I changed the seal of 4 symbols on your body a few times, and it's no longer effective." With that, he raised his azure sleeve sword. Danzo's right arm was cut off and fell into Naruto's hand. "The reason why I didn't kill you directly is because I want these 2 things. I'm actually not interested in your last words at all. The azure sleeve sword slashed down, and Danzo was split in half from the middle. Don't stop supplying chakra yet, there's still something to do. This sentence was said to Nine Tails. Naruto was exhausted. That kind of exhaustion was something Naruto had never felt before. His spiritual force had never been this weak. He felt that as long as Kyuubi withdrew his chakra, he would fall down directly. Naruto took out 2 scrolls in his hand and sealed Danzo's right arm and right eye respectively. Then, without looking at Danzo's corpse, he rushed to the place where the sound of fighting was still coming from. Yamato was still jumping around energetically. Naruto appeared behind Yamato, and his karate chop fell. Yamato's eyes rolled back, and he fainted. Naruto looked at Orochimaru. "You didn't stop me just now." Orochimaru looked at Naruto and said, "Because I think you're very interesting." Naruto's face was expressionless. In fact, he couldn't even make an expression. He said, "Then I won't kill you now, you're also very interesting. But there's a condition, you have to make a deal with me, if you agree, you can live, if you don't agree, I'll kill you now." Orochimaru didn't have any dissatisfaction or anger because Naruto said that he would kill him, and he continued to look at Naruto with a smile. "I'd like to hear the details." Naruto said expressionlessly, "You can use your hands now, but after all, they're not your own hands. I think you can also feel the difference. I'll put it simply, your hands are now with me, and I think you'll understand the meaning of this after collecting information for a while. What the Shiki Fujin sealed is the soul of your hands. The content of the deal is your hands. You continue to spend 3 years training Sasuke. Before I find you, if you can successfully reincarnate into Sasuke's body, then you're amazing. If you fail, then these hands will be regarded as Sasuke's 3 years of tuition. And you have to share all the knowledge you know, whether it's ninjutsu, curses, or your experiments, with me." Orochimaru raised his eyebrows. "Sounds interesting. But since I know that my hands are with you, how can you prove that you have the ability to make a deal with me?" Orochimaru said this sentence, and in the next moment, Naruto disappeared. 5th gear monster strength. With a slash of the sword, Yakushi's head slowly slid down. Naruto said expressionlessly, "If you still need to prove it, then the next one is you." Yakushi died. A very capable subordinate. Orochimaru frowned, but then he felt relieved. He smiled and said, "You are indeed qualified to make a deal with me, then see you in 3 years." The expressionless Naruto came in front of Sasuke. He raised his hand and pressed it on Sasuke's curses. "I want to see your curses." As he said, the blood in his hand linked to Sasuke's curses like a rune line. Deep penetration. Chakra drilled into Sasuke's curses. Sasuke's curses were activated, and curses spread all over his body. Then he directly entered the second state of curses. Naruto's chakra, or chakra borrowed from Nine Tails, walked along the curses lines, and then withdrew. Sure enough, there is some connection. Naruto's hand picked up from Sasuke's body, chakra returned, and Sasuke squatted on the ground sweating. "Thanks." With that, Naruto turned to leave. At this time, Orochimaru stopped Naruto. "You coming here means Danzo is dead. Then are the 2 things on his body also on you? If so, I am willing to accept other deals. For example, it's not impossible to teach Sasuke for free." Naruto replied, "No deal, that's my precious research material." Orochimaru was taken aback, then laughed. "Interesting, you are getting more and more interesting. Since you are also interested in research, then I will give you something." Orochimaru threw out a scroll. Naruto didn't perceive chakra's fluctuations on the scroll. It was a very ordinary scroll, and a little old. The scroll unfolded, and there was a map inside, but 9 locations were marked. Orochimaru smiled and said, "These are the laboratories that I used when I was in Konoha. I think some of them should have been discovered by others, but I don't think they have been discovered yet. After all, they are all very hidden. This is a gift for you. Because you're so interesting." Naruto was about to leave when he suddenly thought of something. "Give me the ashes of Kato and Nawaki." Orochimaru grinned silently, and without bargaining, he directly said, "It should be on Yakushi Kabuto." Naruto opened the scroll, sealed Yakushi Kabuto's body, and replied, "No, I will come to you again." After saying that, his third gear burst out, and he disappeared in a flash. Nine Tails urged, "Hey, your physical condition isn't very good. If you don't remove chakra now, it will be worse." Naruto struggled to support his body and said, "Wait a minute, I still have to see someone." After saying that, he rushed to the place where Gunny was, and walked to Gunny's side. But Gunny was alive. Naruto's eyes widened, and looked at Gunny in disbelief. "You are not dead?" Chapter 222. Gunny grinned. "Of course, I'm not the one whose body was penetrated." Then he waved his hand. "Come here, snake." A dark brown snake slithered over. Naruto stared blankly at the scene in front of him. He still didn't understand. At this moment, Gunny made a hand seal, and the snake transformed into Gunny. The two Gunnies spoke at the same time. "Although I'm not dead, I'm still very touched that you shed tears for me." Naruto couldn't believe it. "That's impossible. You were—" The scene of life and death seemed to be right in front of his eyes. Gunny blinked. "What do you think of my acting? Isn't it sad and beautiful?" Naruto's face darkened. "The bowl of tears that I just saved up should be poured into the toilet. Mother asterisk her, I'm actually sad for Gunny. I'm so asterisk king retarded. Nine Llamas sensei, take back chakra." Nine Tails was about to take back chakra when Naruto suddenly spoke. "Wait a moment, I'm still looking for someone." "Who?" Of course, it was Hinata. The girl was drugged and locked in a tree hole. Based on the effects of the drug, she wouldn't wake up for at least 2 days and 2 nights. And so, Naruto walked into the forest. Gunny and the other two followed behind him with Tsunade on their backs. 5 minutes passed. 10 minutes passed. Naruto walked in circles in the forest. "That's not right. It's here. Why isn't it here? Wait, it might be the other side." And so, another 10 minutes passed. "Why isn't it here yet? How could it not be here? Could it be the other direction?" Naruto started searching again. But there was still nothing. In the end, Naruto found that the forest was the same. In fact, he didn't even remember where he hid Hinata. Naruto stood there in a daze, staring at the sky. He had lost Hinata. Just as he was about to continue searching, Nine Tails snapped chakra. Naruto fell straight to the ground and fainted. At the same time, in the dark tree hole, Hinata was lying on a soft blanket. Hinata was sleeping soundly. The bark covering the tree trembled, and the faint light in the tree hole trembled as well. Then, the bark was removed. Haru Sakuratani and Siakiki looked at the person inside. Spring approached Hinata and pulled out a strand of hair from her head. Chakra infused the strand of hair into her hair and it immediately straightened like a needle. Her hair, which was as straight as needles, was stuck on Hinata's hand, stained with a drop of blood. Spring put his blood-stained hair into his mouth. His eyes were dazed for a moment as if he was about to faint. Then, he returned to normal. Then, Spring used his thin fingernail to make a cut on his wrist. A drop of bright red blood flowed out and fell into Hinata's mouth. 10 seconds later, Hinata's eyelashes fluttered, and she woke up in a daze. "Naruto." Hinata was shocked to see Spring and Siakiki. After seeing who it was, she said, "Did Naruto-kun ask you to look for me? Is Naruto-kun okay? Why didn't Naruto come personally? Did something happen to Naruto?" Hinata's heart became anxious. Siakiki said, "Naruto has killed Danzo. He's unconscious now." Hearing that Naruto was unconscious, Hinata was anxious. Blood rushed to her head and her face turned red. "Where is he? Is his injury serious?" Siakiki shook her head and nodded. She smiled and said, "It can be said that it's serious, but it can also be said that it's not serious. If it's serious, Naruto's body hasn't really matured yet. He overexerted his potential and the number of cell divisions intensified, so he lost 5 to 6 years of lifespan. If it's not serious, there's still a way to make up for it. Hinata quickly asked, how do we make it up? By the way, since Naruto killed Danzo, she must know about Naruto. She's the most outstanding medical ninja. Saikiki shook her head. Hinata was shocked. Naruto won't, Saikiki said. Of course your Naruto will be fine. After all, Naruto risked his life to save him. What I mean by shaking my head is that even your Naruto won't be able to reverse the accelerated cell division. Hinata was nervous. Her face was filled with worry. Then, who knows, do you know? Haru said to Haru expressionlessly, don't tease her. Then she said to Hinata, we came to find you because we're suddenly interested in you. We want to ask if you're willing to change your environment to improve yourself. In your current state, no matter how hard you work, you won't be able to catch up to Naruto's pace. His ambition is just like his desire for knowledge. It's endless. Sooner or later, you'll fade out of his sight because you can't catch up to him. We're willing to find a place for you to improve to a level that you can't improve to now. Hinata was stunned. She began to be wary of the two. Why are you telling me this? Haru said expressionlessly, because Naruto's outstanding performance has gradually attracted the interest of our family's young miss. If he continues to grow, the next time he meets our young miss, she might be interested in him. The probability is very small, but no matter how small it is, it can't exist. At that time, if you continue to be so weak, you won't have any chance of winning. Besides, even if Naruto still treats you well, how long can you stay by his side? A lifetime. What's funny is that there are many people in this world who won't be satisfied for a lifetime. They will pursue a longer life, and Naruto will be one of them. You, when the time comes, your face will wither, and in less than 100 years, only a handful of ashes will be left. At that time, what will you use to accompany the person you like? Of course, you don't have to answer me in a hurry. Before the young miss comes back, you have time to think. Xia smiled and reprimanded. Sister, you forgot again. The young miss said to smile more to people. You scared the girl with your stern face. Haru was stunned. She immediately put on a smile and replied, yes. After saying that, she bowed to Hinata and apologized. If I scared you, I'm very sorry. Hinata waved her hand and said awkwardly, It's okay. You don't have to apologize. Suddenly, Hinata felt that this pair of sisters was strange, and very dangerous. When Naruto woke up, she must make Naruto move out of that place. But, would Naruto listen to her? What if he didn't listen? Where would she move to if she moved? He hadn't even saved enough money to buy a decent house yet. Thinking of this, Hinata was in a difficult position. As for what the two of them said, she didn't listen at all. In her opinion, Naruto wasn't that kind of person. If Naruto said he liked her, she would always like him. As for her strength, she would work harder to cultivate when she returned home. Hinata encouraged herself in her heart. She was also a young miss, and she wasn't any worse than the young miss they were talking about. But, was she really not bad? Father didn't like her. She didn't have any status at home. At the very least, she didn't even have the money to buy a house. Hinata's heart was in a dilemma. Maybe, she really couldn't compare to that young miss. She didn't know what kind of person that young miss was. She really wanted to meet her. Chapter 223. Naruto woke up, but his consciousness was still not very clear. He looked at the dark green tent roof for a while. The tent was dark green, and the light from the outside and the clarity of the vision, Naruto could tell that it was daytime now. Naruto yawned subconsciously, and then a thought came to his mind: Hinata hasn't been found yet. This thought made Naruto's fuzzy consciousness instantly wake up, and his body sat up abruptly. Because he sat up too hard, the wounds on his body were affected, and severe pain spread all over his body. However, Naruto's other abilities may not be strong, but his ability to endure pain was superb. With the will that he honed since he self-destructed his clone, Naruto asked himself that his pain tolerance was not weaker than anyone else. Except for the dead. Naruto just frowned and looked at his body. The messy bandages wrapped around him no different from a mummy. However, it was not stuffy. Naruto sighed. Tisk, the bandages are high-grade goods. It was a bandage with a spell seal, good ventilation, and self-disinfecting effect. This was a secret wood leaf product, and the cost was high, and the process was complicated. Only special people were qualified to use it. Naruto had seen it when he was in the hospital. Now that he saw this kind of bandage finally used on himself, he felt a little proud. Of course, at this time, it was not about his treatment, but about Hinata. Finally awake? But the wounds on your body haven't healed yet. You'd better lie down quietly for a while. Also, don't use medical ninjutsu to heal this injury. Wait for it to heal itself. It was Tsunade's voice, just behind him. Naruto turned his head foolishly, and behind him, Tsunade was lying on her side and looking at him. It was a little shocking, but it was not the first time that he was in the same tent with Tsunade, so it was not too shocking. The last time was to avoid Jiraiya. This time, Tsunade was most likely to take care of his injury. To be able to make Naruto be in the same tent as her, the treatment of wood leaf was definitely second only. How long have I been out? Naruto asked straightforwardly. He was now worried that if it was too long, Hinata would be taken away by a bear. A passing bear smelled the aroma of food. It climbed up the tree and peeled off the bark to find Hinata sleeping soundly. In order to confirm whether its prey was asleep or dead, the black bear lowered its head and kissed Hinata, waking her up with a start. The bear became Prince Charming, and from then on, he lived a happy life with Hinata. What kind of drama was this? Tsunade yawned, stretched her body, and replied listlessly, Not much, I woke up after a day and a night. Since you're awake, I'll sleep for a while. As he spoke, he actually fell asleep. One day and one night after Tsunade woke up? So there's still some time before Tsunade wakes up? How long? Another day and night? 2 days and 2 nights. After such a long time, Hinata and the bear version of Prince Charming should have given birth to a bunch of bear babies, right? Ba. What kind of drama was this? Naruto didn't move anymore. Although he wasn't afraid of pain, violent movements would affect the normal healing of the wound. With both hands, he used the Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto established a spiritual link with the clone, and then controlled the clone to leave the tent. The first thing he saw was Hinata squatting outside, looking worried. Did Hinata come back by herself? Naruto saw Hinata, and Hinata also saw Naruto. After all, Hinata had been looking at the tent. Although she didn't always look at it with supercilious eyes, she would occasionally glance at it, and then squat at the corner to eavesdrop. However, after seeing Naruto's clone come out, Hinata, who was originally anxious, calmed down. She remembered what she said before. If Naruto seduced her, she would ignore Naruto. Therefore, the expression on her face instantly turned gloomy. She snorted and turned to leave. Hinata. Naruto's clone chased after her. Hinata turned around and used soft fist, 8 trigrams palm, empty palm. Bang! Naruto's clone exploded. In the tent, Naruto was dumbfounded for a long time. Hinata was angry. This was the first time he saw her being as hot as a little chili. So cute. Naruto smiled slyly, and then used the Shadow Clone Jutsu again. He decided to look for Hinata again. Then, he would use his silver tongue to make Hinata happy. However, 10 minutes later, Naruto found a problem. It was because Hinata had supercilious eyes. If Hinata didn't want him to find her, then he wouldn't be able to find her no matter what. This was because Hinata was able to see his movements and avoid them. His liver hurt. However, Naruto wasn't discouraged. He licked his lips. Do you think you can challenge me with supercilious eyes? You're too naive. Watch me set up a perception barrier to find you. Naruto's perception barrier covered a diameter of about 200 meters. Although it wasn't very large, as long as Hinata was still near the tent, he could still find her. Naruto wanted to take out a scroll from his chest, but he didn't find it. Wrapped in gauze like a mummy, his original clothes had long been taken off and placed somewhere. And so, Naruto began to control his clone to search. His own clothes. There weren't any in Tsunade's tent. His clone went out and walked to the tents on the side. The standard tents were all the same. Except for Naruto's tent, there were 3 more. Naruto chose one and walked in. He saw a person who was also wrapped like a mummy. That person was also looking at him. That person's gaze was a bit familiar. Naruto's gaze moved to the ground beside him. There were 100 pitch-black swords standing on the ground. The words White Fang were written crookedly on the hilt. That was Gunny's authentic handwriting. Then, the identity of the person on the bed was self-evident. It was Hatake, Kakashi. Naruto then remembered that Kakashi was poisoned by Aburame's poisonous insect. Naruto's clone raised a finger and waved it in front of Kakashi's eyes. Kakashi's eyes moved subconsciously. Naruto was surprised. He's still alive. It seems that the poisonous insect that Aburame used to take the root of is not that good. Naruto was a straightforward person. He actually said that in front of Kakashi. Kakashi's mood could be imagined. However, even his mouth was wrapped, and he couldn't speak at this time. The ninja next to him wearing an umbu mask said, "The poisonous insect that Aburame used to take the root of is still very strong. If she didn't extract the poisonous insect from Kakashi's body before she died, Kakashi-sama would be dead by now." The voice was a bit familiar, and the mask on the person's face was also a bit familiar. It was a white monkey mask with yellow stripes. Naruto asked with uncertainty, "Are you that monkey?" "Which one?" "One of the 3 ninjas who kidnapped him from his home. One of the 3 who was later taught a lesson by Naruto's fart candy. He even took him as a follower and served him tea for several days." The ninja was silent for a moment, regretting what he said, and helplessly said, "Brother, it's me." Naruto rolled his eyes and said, "No wonder the mission to kill Orochimaru failed. With your level, you can only catch a rabbit. The other 2 guys are also here?" Monkey's body stiffened, and he nodded. He thought that the main reason why he was defeated by Naruto was that he had diarrhea for a day, and his body was weak to the limit. However, he already knew that Danzo was killed by Naruto. When Tsunade was not awake, they investigated the scene. The sword mark on Danzo's body was caused by Naruto's sword. It seems that they are indeed not Naruto's opponent. Since Aburame used the root to take the poisonous insect, why is Kakashi-sensei still in such a weak state? Monkey replied, "It was destroyed by the explosion." Although chakra protected her body in time, due to the high temperature of the explosion, it was almost fried when she found it. Naruto, shut up. This seems to be his doing. Chapter 224. After greeting Kakashi, Naruto went to the tent next to him. This time, it's spring and summer? Wow, they're here as well. To be honest, Naruto was very touched. As for why they didn't make a move, it must be because they were shocked by his heroic appearance and believed that he could solve it by himself. Naruto's narcissistic disease was getting worse. Spring and summer were obedient girls in front of Naruto. They would do whatever he said without talking back. Generally, it was Naruto who made the request and they would complete it perfectly. Therefore, the conversation between Naruto and Spring and Summer was unusually harmonious. This made Hinata, who was secretly observing with Byakugan, feel more and more that there was definitely something wrong with Spring and Summer. She must tell Naruto their true colors. Under Byakugan vision, Hinata could clearly see that Spring and Summer's expressions were just expressions made by their muscles. They weren't real emotions at all. Because a person's emotional changes weren't only based on their facial expressions, but also the rhythm of their heartbeat, the speed of their blood flow, the relaxation of their pores, and so on, they could even affect Chakra's state. But Hinata didn't feel any of these on these two girls. Their breathing was so quiet that it was as if they were still, their heartbeats were the same from beginning to end, whether they were smiling or acting coquettishly, there was no change, and there was no other expression, it was as if their pores didn't even move. Chakra didn't fluctuate at all. Scary. And such a person was still talking and laughing with Naruto. Hinata felt cold all over. She only took a few glances at the tent, and it made her feel suffocated. Inside the tent, Naruto said, "Since you're here, then my things should be kept by you, right?" Summer nodded obediently, and then activated the storage equipment in her hand. A Zuchi sword, 2 storage gloves, a pile of scrolls, and a broken bag. The chakra armor that he brought from the snow country. Seeing that armor, Naruto's liver hurt. After using it once, it was scrapped. When he went back, he would research another one himself. Xia pouted. "It's all here. The clothes were destroyed, so I threw them away." Naruto was relieved when he saw 2 of the scrolls. One of them contained Danzo's right hand, and the other contained Shisui's Sharingan. He couldn't let Tsunade know about this. There was also a black scroll that recorded the insights of the Edo Tensei. And Medicine Master Do's corpse. Naruto thanked them sincerely. "Fortunately, you guys are here." As he spoke, he took out a blank scroll from inside, as well as the brush and ink used to write the glyph array. "I'll leave the rest in your hands. Keep them safe." Xia Lianlian nodded. "Yes. Xia will definitely protect Master's assets with his life." At the same time, Naruto established a mental link with Xia and said, "Before you put these things away, no one else came into contact with them, right?" Xia cooperated with Naruto and established a mental link with him. Apart from Master's sword, no one else came into contact with them. The ones who came into contact with the sword were the ninjas of the wood leaf Umbu. Does Master want to kill them? Naruto was surprised. In the past, would Xia Lianlian want to eat dessert? Today, she asked him if he wanted to kill them? Could it be that he developed a new attribute for the sisters? But since they only came into contact with the sword, there was no need to kill them. Naruto replied, "No need. It's fine as long as they didn't come into contact with the other scrolls." Cutting off the spiritual link, Naruto picked up the brush, dipped it in a special ink, and began to write on the scroll. This was a small perception barrier. He wanted to use this method to find Hinata. After the perception barrier's glyph array was drawn, the hand seals were activated. Naruto's mental power successfully established a connection with the glyph array. Then, with Naruto as the center, a 200-meter diameter circle spread out. Success. Naruto looked at the situation in the other 2 tents. One of them had 2 ninjas wrapped up like mummies. There was also Yamato, who was taking care of the 2 mummies. The other one was Gunny and the others. Tsunade's tent had a glyph array that blocked perception. Hinata was not within the range of perception. Where did that girl run off to? Naruto felt his liver hurt even more. He made up his mind that when he returned next time, he would definitely research an even more powerful perception barrier. Otherwise, it would be hilarious if that girl hid whenever she got angry. But, even more powerful would require a stricter foundation. At the very least, scrolls wouldn't do. There was also a large number of chakra. He didn't lack a large number of chakra. As he pondered, Naruto stopped using the technique and rolled up the scroll. Then, according to the information he received from the perception barrier, he walked into Gunny's tent. Although Gunny didn't die heroically, he still had to thank him. He walked into Gunny's tent. Little Gunny was playing with Rascal and Big Fatty. Big Gunny was watching Little Gunny play. Gunny was sitting in a wheelchair as usual. Naruto suddenly thought of a way to thank Gunny. "Gunny, didn't you say that I would upgrade your wheelchair last time?" Gunny's eyes lit up when he heard this, and he said in a sweet voice, "Master, you're the best." Naruto ignored Gunny and said to Little Gunny, "Little Gunny, what do you want?" Little Gunny's eyes also lit up, and he said hesitantly, "Can I have any wish?" Although it was Little Gunny, Naruto still didn't want to give him a full answer. It has to be something that your big brother Naruto can do. Because of the unreliable Gunny, Naruto felt a little panicked. Little Gunny's eyes lit up, and he said, "I want more pets. When I was in that place, those bad people didn't let me have any. This wish seems easy to fulfill." Naruto thought of Rolling Stone, and he promised, "Okay, I'll bring you a very cute one when we get home." Then Naruto looked at Gunny. Naruto's impression of Gunny was that he was the most stable and mature one. What does Big Gunny want? Gunny thought for a moment and raised his hand. "I broke a part of my arms when I was on the road, and it's not working well now. Help me fix it." It's really a simple wish, Naruto decided, to promise her. Then Naruto's avatar returned to Tsunade's tent, handed the scroll to his main body, and then the avatar dispelled it. Hinata saw this scene, and she was very confused. Why did Naruto dispel the avatar just like that? Shouldn't Naruto come to her? She was prepared to hide for a while and then come out. Naruto will send another avatar, right? He will definitely send another one. That was what Hinata told herself. However, after 5 minutes, Naruto, who was lying down again, slept soundly. Hinata pouted angrily. "Naruto-kun didn't come to me. I've decided not to talk to him anymore." After saying that, she hesitated and changed her mind. "No. I've decided not to talk to Naruto for the rest of the month." She thought about it again. I think this week." Finally, she said uncertainly, "Or today." Maybe Naruto-kun isn't feeling well today, and he can't use the avatar jutsu for too long." Hinata looked pitifully at Naruto, who was sleeping soundly, and pouted even harder. It was written all over her face. "Come and find me. I'm right here. Come and find me." Unfortunately for her, Naruto-kun was sleeping soundly. Hinata, who was staring at her tent, didn't notice that a brownish-black snake was lying on a tree branch not far away, and it was looking at her with its tail propped up on its cheek. Moreover, he had listened to all of her words. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.